Wait a minute. Remember what
I don't have to ask public comments already.
You don't. You do not.
No, it's on the agenda, right?
Kind of would rather hear about it now than someplace else later if it's bad. Are we on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Morning, welcome to the September 12th meeting of the Raleigh County Commission. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice fall morning.
No doubt.
We have some comments.
Yeah, it's nothing bad. This is just to follow up on an email that I sent out on Friday about the testing plan moving forward. So we have Valentina, she's the employee from Insight Global. That's the company that KDHE has contracted with. She's with us through May. So we could keep this testing program going through May, but we'll evaluate as we go to determine if we need to keep it going. But it is available starting today, weekdays from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. By appointment only. So we did push out that link in a press release that's also available on our Facebook page and our website. It's a very easy process to make an appointment. You just fill out your information and then you can show up at the time that you provided. So you can make an appointment within 2 hours and up to 5 days. You can schedule it out if you'd like to, up to 5 days. You don't have to be symptomatic to be tested. These are PCR tests, rapid PCR tests. So you can get your results within 30 minutes. So we'll be available again Monday through Friday, 8 to 1, and that will be outside of the FCRC building in the parking lot. We have a big trailer there, our trailer that we purchased a while ago, with signs. Thanks to Public Works, we have signage to direct people to the right place. So, and again, we'll keep this available as long as we need to, as long as the NPM is there. We have our first appointment this morning at 10 a.m. Nothing bad.
We're gonna your fault, Clancy. It's our complex.
That's okay. I say that and then there's nothing bad. That's
Right.
That's good.
It's good. Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay.
Come on, off the top of your head. Let's do some comments.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember this, and I've got to I have to look at my calendar because I thought I had sent my comments to myself, but I didn't. So I can't retrieve them from here. Anyway, Friday morning I did go, or Friday, morning, went to PT. By the time I got out of there, I couldn't make it down to the groundbreaking because I had planned to do that. So, but I just didn't have enough time. And then I met with Julie at 11:30. So it just wasn't time to get down there. So sounded like it was a great event. Anyway, I met with Julie and we talked about, one thing I did talk to her about were the child care initiatives that are going on. And it seems though there's about 3 groups that are working on it and none of them are coordinating. Because my ask for her was, has anybody talked to you at the health department because you're in charge of the licensing? And no. And she said, so that's kind of a problem. So I suggested that, well, she had reached out to the chamber and she thought Heather might be able to do it. But my thoughts is that we can maybe get all these grouped together and have them present what they actually do as far as licensing. And she gave me some numbers. We have 104 child care providers in this county. School has 104 because they do before and after school daycare centers. Regulated home ones are about 44 and 26 group daycares. And she gave me all the information on what the staff qualifications were. So that's an interesting piece of it. But out of all that, I think they said the other day there are 77 openings due to lack of employees.
Yeah, like
So it looks to me like we have more of a labor problem than a business problem.
Exactly.
So it's something that can be worked on. Let's see. I also talked to her about what she presented this morning, and I suggested she come in and give a public comment on it. So it was my fault. Friday night, I went with some friends down to Aggieville. We ended up in Kites and, listened to the pep band and kind of got ready.
Here's the one I heard about later on in the night. Okay.
Well, we left and went up to Mr. Kate's.
Oh,
because
sure.
Aggieville was packed.
Oh, I
That
was.
was totally
Was.
nuts. I had to drive around, and I got there early. On the spot. So Saturday I was headed to the game, and then they called it off. And then, after all those delays, I said, "No, I'm gonna. It's too cold. It's too nasty. I'm gonna stay home and watch it." So we watched it. So let's see. Sunday, yesterday, late afternoon, I went down to the 9/11 Remembrance celebration or Remembrance program down at City Park. And it was really well attended. A lot of people there. Military, Governor Kelly was there. Attorney General Derek Schmidt was there. There were a lot of people there. A lot of like Tom Bach and Dobson and all the legislative people. So it was well attended, and they gave out awards and had a good meal. The fire department, police department had prepared all the food, so it was really good. So did that, and then just relaxed when I went home. Thought I had everything set up. But anyway, so that's it. So,
Joe. Man, it felt good to have a fall weekend.
yeah.
Really, really did. Rain on Saturday, which we needed very, very badly. I know it didn't come at a really good time. Though it wasn't really the rain, it was the thunder and the lightning that caused both delays, but looked like that could have went on back and forth all afternoon. So snuck the game in. So happy about that. But it was just kind of nice waking up with the window open and just being nice and cool. It's not going to last, but hopefully there's more of those to come as soon as possible. So end of the week was pretty quiet for me for the most part. Yesterday morning, I joined Colonel Michael J. Foote, United States Army Garrison at Fort Riley, and many other local officials at their 9/11 commemoration ceremony. That was at their Global War Terrorism Memorial site up at the Cavalry field up there. Yeah. Very, very nicely done how they put that together. They put the base up together in the shape of I guess an octagon, like the Pentagon. It's a big Pentagon, not an octagon. Duh. So you can tell I wasn't good at geometry. And they got two black towers over there with some engravings, and then they engrave each of the names of the members of Big Red 1 and Fort Riley that lost their lives in the war, and the wars there. Yeah. Was really, really impressed with that. Very, very good ceremony. Colonel's remarks were wonderful, and if you do get a chance to see that memorial, you really should. It's quite impressive. Also attended the Day of Remembrance at the Manhattan City Park yesterday. They want to give thanks to both the governor and the attorney general and many others for comments. The mayor also made a Day of Remembrance proclamation for September 11th. Colonel King and Lieutenant Colonel Gledwell from Army Irwin Hospital was also there, and they gave some comments, some personal accounts. They were both working in Washington, D.C. that day. Gledwell is retired, but she was actually at the Pentagon. So they gave some comments and kind of laid out, what happened on that particular day as well. So certainly appreciate that. That's never an easy thing to do. Also had the pinning ceremony for 4 Americorps seniors receiving Presidential Volunteer Service Awards for their many years of service. I wanted to also thank Rcpd for providing the food and for all the volunteers who laid out 2,977 flags with names on them. And considering the weather and stuff over the weekend, I thought that was really, really impressive. So, and that represented, of course, each one who lost their lives in that attack on that fateful day. And the 1st Infantry Division Band, who I heard earlier in the morning, was also at that event last night. And they President taps twice in the same day. That might be a first. And they provided the entertainment, and it went very, very well. And I agree, it was very, very well attended. And so certainly appreciate that. I also spent some time over the weekend looking and going through our list of candidates for the Rcpd director's position in advance of this afternoon's special law board meeting. I needed to get that sorted out and get some thoughts down on the candidates that are remaining. So, and figure out what go from there. So, and lastly, congratulations goes out to Manhattan High once again. For a convincing win against Topeka High. Sorry, Greg.
I got it's in my pockets. I'll take my bruises.
Yeah, they've moved all the way up to number 2, Class 6A, particularly after their win against Derby last week. K-State looked pretty convincing in their win against Missouri. That defense is going to keep us in games this year. I'm not sold on the offense just yet, but sometimes that comes along a little later, and sometimes there's strategy behind that. And then my other Wildcats took care of Florida in Gainesville pretty convincingly, and now they find themselves in the top 10. So my Jaguars can just figure it out on the NFL level. I'd be having a really good football year so far.
Defense kept Snyder teams going until the offense caught up a lot.
It did. It did. You just don't see that cohesiveness still there with the wide receivers. And I don't think it's the quarterback's fault. It just,
You gotta remember, the
It's just
quarterback's
different.
brand new
Yeah.
and doesn't know how much of the playbook.
yeah.
Well, and they played it the whole game, which I thought was good.
Yeah, they did. And he has made the right calls, the right decisions. You see him, doing all those things. So if it's a turnover problem, it happens someplace else and for some other reasons, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, we're in the right direction. I think you look at the consistency of the Big 12 right now and just overall, and we got a chance. We certainly got a chance. Yeah. No, West Virginia, Oklahoma at times didn't look very impressive either.
Same thing, a lot of new pieces.
Yeah. So timing might be everything on that. We'll just have to wait and see. That's all I got.
Missouri turning over 4 times is something else.
I tell you what, I thought our secondary was going to be a real liability, and I'm starting to think it's not. It's not.
They're strong.
I mean, they're salty.
Yeah, thing is, the offense had to capitalize. That's my frustration.
I'm a little worried about maybe our kicking game a little bit too.
No doubt. Yeah.
But it seems like everybody at all levels is having that problem for some reason. So
All right. Well, Thursday afternoon, I attended a middle school cross-country meet at Milford. And that's at Milford State Park. The finish of it is a long uphill run. I don't know how they guys, just from being a spectator walking up and down the hill a couple of times is enough for me. But these guys actually running 3 miles and they got to go uphill pretty good pace.
it's good to be young.
Yeah, exactly. And then Friday, I attended the groundbreaking at the Museum of Art and Light. Had a large crowd there. David Toland, Lieutenant Governor, spoke, and both of the DeBruins spoke. The architects and the contractors were there. They also had some large drawings set up showing the building and how it sits on the site, which were helpful. Got a better idea of how it all lays in there, and I'm looking forward to seeing that completed.
I'm sure we'll hear most of that construction come spring.
Yeah, it's just down the street.
And then Friday I went to the Manhattan High football game where they thoroughly whipped my Topeka High Trojans.
Woo, woo.
And then Saturday I was at the K-State football game, stayed through the weather delay, watched the full game, came home wet and cold. But I did enjoy seeing Russian students.
That rain was cold. It was
It was
it hit you. It was
And then
a
the
cold
wind,
drop.
and then the winds picked up for a while.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I stopped at Dillon's, and on my way going home to Dillon's, it started raining, and I'm like, great. I was just like, I really don't feel like trying to run from the truck to the building and then back. I'm just going to get wet. I don't care.
Yeah, but I had poncho, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
cover, it don't cover
No.
about here.
You're not acclimated yet to cold weather.
No, it was like, it's crazy.
Well, then the group that I was sitting with, they all during the lightning break went out to the car. And then I got a text from saying, we're down at Barricade Grill. We've got a spot for you if you want to come down with us. But I stayed there, stuck it out.
I was impressed with the students too.
Yeah.
They stuck it out.
Well,
And the chant, yeah.
And the chant.
did you see who was in the front
Uh-huh.
row
Yeah.
leading the chant?
What was the chant?
KSU.
Yeah, we can't talk about the other
Cannonball.
chant.
Brendan Cannonball.
Yeah.
And Tang was in the front row with him.
Getting after it.
Yeah. He's knows how to do publicity. I think.
I think he's real. I actually do. I think he's real.
And it seems genuine.
Yeah, I think he's seems to really enjoy that.
At the end of the day, though, you gotta win.
Yeah, it's got props.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, you gotta win.
What about Notre Dame being owned to the new coach? There's a lot of parity.
I do not like it. Breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
I think, you know, I don't know. Several schools.
That's all I have.
Okay, commissioners, no items for business. Does commissioners have any changes for the minutes?
Yeah, I sent my comments in on Friday, but I guess Cindy wasn't here, so they could make it. So she should have them.
Yep.
Add.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't see anything. No. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes as written for September 8th, 2002 meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I'm second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve minutes in September 8th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any, the tentative agendas look okay, commissioners?
So I did hear we are having the county meeting on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
The riverfront, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Let me just.
And that's at what, City Hall? Is that right?
No, he's here.
Or is it? Oh, it's in Clancy's office.
What's in my office?
Is that, well, one of those meetings
City county's always in this.
in this.
Yeah,
It's at the city.
Oh, it's the city.
It's at the city, yeah, but when we have it, it's in here.
you got my attention.
Well, one of these meetings is in your office.
Shouldn't be.
Not a big one.
Not
Shouldn't be.
No, don't think so. Maybe we've got a meeting scheduled or something. Maybe you and I do.
Any items for next week's press conference, commissioners?
Good.
Special law board meetings in your office.
No, it's
Not
not
to my
very
knowledge.
office.
There, see, it said the attorney's office. I assumed it was you.
I'm glad you raised it in case that were the case.
Yeah.
So it's in Barry's office this afternoon.
Congratulations.
Okay.
It's at their conference room on the second floor there.
Sorry. Been surprised by the law board at your office.
No kidding. What's everybody doing here?
Just plan on supplying dinner. That's the deal.
That's all I got to do. That's okay.
Commissioners, I'm up next at 9:00 on your date budget and expenditures. Got a bit of a break.
No, because of fire commitments, we were a little late in the Anaheim game. It was 15-0 when we walked in.
No, really?
Yeah, they intercepted a pass and ran it back in. And then
They missed the extra point and then ran the 2-point conversion or something. Or no?
they ran it for 2. And then they turned around and did something. Oh, no, the first one. Then like the first play from scrimmage, they ran 75 yards for a touchdown. And then when the guy got the ball, they intercepted and ran it back in.
There are a lot of people there. I drove by and the cars, a lot of cars there. So it's packed.
Yeah, it's first game of the year. It was a pretty nice Friday night.
Yeah, it was nice.
Well, the worst bad weekend was Saturday, of all things. Sunday was sunny and bright.
Yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous yesterday morning
Yeah.
up at the ceremony. You couldn't have asked for it. It was almost eerily familiar to September 11th, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Same type of day, just clear.
Fire and
You
leaf.
see that
Fall.
that the president, the memorial or stuff, it's at the Calvary. Parade field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the cavalry or the group come out with the horses too?
They did.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I got a couple pictures of that. Yeah. You can tell the horses weren't really liking the band too well. But outside of that, they were mannered very well.
I was at the change of command ceremony. They had
Yeah.
a similar kind of. thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that little front thing there. That they have
Mhm.
all the seats and stuff. They had this down a little ways in front of it with canopies and stuff, and everybody's name was kind of laid out there. There were some people from Junction City, Sidney Carlin was there, Rich Yankovic was there, Perry Wiggins was there, so local officials. Very impressed with the Army Garrison Commander too.
I needed to double check with commissioners the dates that you wanted for the legislative conference with our delegation. I know it's in early December. I think it's the dates you've given me for possibly the 5th and the 8th. Is that correct? And my recollection was you want this only live, correct?
Yeah.
Is that,
Only live.
well, only
In person.
no Zoom,
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, in person, yeah.
but no option for. Okay, I just want to be upfront with that. Members.
It's gonna be a live stream, so I mean. Nobody wants to watch it, man, you can.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, right, field, because they redid that. That's been several years ago. But remember, like, it works Blue Gold. They did the irrigation for it, they can't have any irrigation out there because the calorie just, of course,
Yeah,
if they're all set on the side, when those things go off, I mean, they're shooting like 200 feet. They've got just a couple on each side, these monstrous things that shoot out across their water that area.
Of course would like that.
yeah. Maybe you
A writer
that
would
as
really
a
not like
native grass or something, buffalo grass or something.
Whatever they want, that's not what.
Hey, Daryl.
This one that irrigated, they always wanted looking good to the ceremony.
Yeah,
But it had get these special water cannons that shoot the water out. And then they turned those on because we had a building, we were working on a building right next to it. Holy cow, those things put out speed. They had to put in special veins.
Oh, yeah.
To feed it. To get
well,
enough water
I mean,
there.
the topography there, depending on where they put those, I mean, you're kind of at the bottom, it kind of works up to the top of the plateau.
And they had.
It's not the easiest thing to push water into it, yeah,
Yeah. Way out across there.
and then try to get the water pressure correct, to cover all of it on top of it.
But we didn't have, it was number 10. So
I couldn't tell if they had the custard house open over across the way or not. People walking through one side of it, but it said it was already closed at Labor Day. So it goes from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Oh, that's kind of odd, yeah.
We got it. A lot of overtime in college football.
Yeah.
There's overtime in the NFL yesterday too. The two games and one of them ended in a tie.
Really?
That's a Pittsburgh Cincy game. Wow.
Can't say.
No. Kansas City looks like they're going to have to find themselves a kicker. That safety's probably not going to work long term.
I don't know, that guy who drove that ball.
On the kickoffs, he does a heck of a job, but
He kicked. Just they let him do it in preseason, but it's preseason. So
So what happened?
Harrison Buckner, their kicker, on the second kickoff or something,
he twisted
an ankle or something on the kickoff, and I don't know at this point.
Thinking he didn't make that one.
No, well, he made the kickoff, but that
Well,
was
he
it.
came back and made the
Came back and made it,
54-yard
yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Just for half.
Making sure he kept his job.
64-yard?
54.
54-yard field goal right before the half. It's time expired.
Monday night
They said
game.
he limped off the field after he
Yeah,
did. So they had, the safety read.
Yeah.
Did the kickoffs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they said he kicked in high school, maybe in college.
Did he do good?
Yeah.
He missed an
They
extra
won
point.
two on the extra points, but both of the kickoffs. I mean, he put the kickoffs to the
The
upright.
first kickoff, he hit a field goal.
Yeah. You see some of the Chiefs players on the putting their hands up like,
Yeah. Yeah, he'll hear about that.
I didn't watch the second half because I headed over to City Park, but I did watch bits and pieces of, I got Red Zone, so I watched all the pretty much wraparound coverage.
I can't stand
Now it comes free with Hulu, so
I can't stand that. I want to control it myself.
What is it?
NFL Red Zone.
Anytime they get in the red zone, you get to a different game.
Oh,
But there's no commercials. It's 7 hours of straight football.
But you jump around. I hate that. And it's
I
not
like
your
it.
control.
Especially if especially if you're playing fantasy league, because
Exactly.
Up around.
That I can do. But well, because then if you're old school, you can only do it on 2 channels.
But that's what I hate about Hulu. At least I've figured out. You can't go back to your last.
Right, that's
No.
what ours.
That's what I don't like about Hulu.
none of the streaming services really have that guiding thing set up very well. So
I can handle 2, but I can't jump around. My sons love that.
well, then what you do then is you get a TV, you get a laptop, you get a couple of tablets, and you do like a sports bar and play them all at once at the same time. And then you're covered.
No, I'd start screaming and not be able to stop.
Well, fancy, there's just no way of making you happy then.
There are some
just now learning?
you can actually split the screen and do both.
Yeah, you can do that.
See, I don't even like picture in a picture.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. That just.
I never got
My folks, they was at a New Year's Day
Mhm.
party for watching both teams. And they set one TV on top of each other, had one game on the top TV. Of course, those were,
We did it a couple of years in college.
Yeah, it wasn't the little panels.
For 2 years, we had the big console,
Yeah.
55-inch TV, and then we put a computer screen and then another TV on top of it.
I never even got used to the ESPN crawl. That drove me crazy.
Those started happening right after September 11th to get information pretty fast. Because news services technically didn't do that either till then.
Yeah, well, I don't like it. Something else that when I'm in charge of
So
it.
being distracting. Yeah.
It is. I can't watch it. And I feel like I'm missing something, so I start watching it.
Yeah, they're watching my game. I don't care about the rest of the world. I'm at ESPN. If I need to look at it, I'll go to this.
Interesting. I did hear a good thing. I thought was kind of good about it. It's kicker story because we're talking about kickers. Norwood, I guess, is the name of a guy who was a Buffalo kicker.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
famous for going wide right.
Yeah,
Maybe seen
Super
some of
Bowl.
that stuff with
Yeah.
the jersey.
Yeah, they got the jersey and the numbers are offset to the right.
And his name on the back.
Yeah.
To the right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I guess he's got a good sense of
That's
humor,
horrible.
apparently. Because he's still a celebrity, I guess, in Buffalo.
That's horrible.
But it's pretty
Speaking of
clever.
that,
Pretty clever.
one of the which one is it? South goalpost at Manhattan Field. It's like this.
It is.
Yeah,
The high school one.
yeah, the high school one of them.
You think a school board could fix that?
Yeah.
Costs money.
Well, I got an idea. We'll just put Daryl out there and he can just go like this during the game.
It's out there. Well, no, it's okay. It's just one of
Goes
them,
out.
of the two uprights, one of them's
One is blowed out.
one was waving like this.
You know the answer, Gerald. Somebody shows you, you just lean to one side and say, looks good to me.
I just had one friends come over and, friends in the system. Seems like we have a few.
Well, maybe you could have the students over celebrate and tear it down, then you can get a new one.
The insurance, you probably have to take care of that.
Yeah.
It's like probably ours, $90,000 deductible. And
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that doesn't work.
Well, don't worry, it wouldn't affect your premium.
And probably end up in the school board room.
I don't know what those things cost. We lost a bunch of them in the day.
We lost a pair of them that were supposed to be indestructible. So
Yeah.
I remember that. Definitely paid out on that one.
Still got a challenge.
Each one of them. Is it?
Yeah. One of the guys, they got it back there. Has he has a farmer's market.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And,
That's not down there at Able Field, is it?
No, it's just north of town.
Oh, okay. They used to have one down there next to the old football stadium or whatever it was down there.
Griffith Field?
We're talking 11 North.
Oh, Leavenworth.
Yeah, I remember helping carry the goalpost down
What?
North Manhattan Street and the
Yeah,
Nebraska
that's
game.
Limitations is up yet.
I didn't actually do it. I was just there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I thought you said you carried.
I wasn't at the stadium when that happened. It was already heading wherever it was going.
After that, didn't you leave the jurisdiction for a while?
I did.
Tolls the statute of limitations.
That was 24 years ago.
All right.
Ready, commissioners?
Yeah.
First report's 2022 year-to-date wages and overtime compared to budget. You see in the upper right-hand corner in the blue, the 66.67%. That's just the point in time we are at the calendar year. We just use it as a gauge, respectively, to compare where departments are budgetarily. And you can see those here on the far right. We've highlighted in the red those that have exceeded that at this point in time. Would point out on that percentage, one that we have known for the last couple of years is very hard to gauge in budget is the general services separation. That's for individuals that retire. We have a lot of people eligible. Some people tell us when they're going to, others do not, and it's a surprise. And so we do our best guesstimate that we can on that, but you can see we have well exceeded that.
But it has kind of leveled off a little bit, it looks like.
Yeah.
That probably just jinxed
I was
us.
just going to say the same thing. Thanks, Commissioner Ford.
Well, you just had a retirement coming up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be something there.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a long one too. So yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But yeah, we do our best guesstimate based on previous years, but we just have a lot of people that are eligible right now. Like to point out the center column, the percentage of overtime compared to regular wages, of course, always highlighted is the EMS ambulance. Remember, the overwhelming majority of that is budgeted and planned for due to their 24/7, 365 shifts.
And that's come down a lot since before the beginning of the year. So
yeah, we've human resource and myself and David and Josh have worked really hard on trying to develop a plan to encourage those that aren't higher on the pay scale that do take up some of that overtime to not be the ones taking it overtime and get more the part-timers to be able to take those and making requirements. That way, if they want to keep their certifications, that they actually show up and spend some hours doing that. So we've done a lot of work on that. We've met at least a dozen times, if not more, the last couple of years to try and help solve that equation a little bit. But there's always going to be a significant amount of overtime in that department. Overall, we're only at 6.13%. The other departments that are typically a little higher, solid waste, and also public works due to the nature of their work. Those departments also respectively have more budgeted overtime than us other departments, such as clerk, treasurer, register of deeds. We just do 3%. Any questions on that first report, commissioners? Next report is just a little bit more detailed breakout of regular salaries, seasonal, temporary, and overtime per department for the first quarter, and then also a month there. If the commission would like any more detail other than that, we can also get that for you. If you see anything you'd like to look into a little further. Next report is 2022 year-to-date budget activity report. On here. Those highlighted in the blue, once again, have exceeded that 66.67%. Juvenile detention, of course, that's paid on the quarterly basis, so it should balance out by the end of the year. Fair, of course, they had their large expenditures with conducting the fair and should be fine by the end of the year. Budget appropriations, all of those have been spent. Insurance, just cyclical based on when those payments are due. General fund transfers, of course, completed. And once again, all of these are in the general fund overall, so individually they are no statutory budget violation. It would just be if the entire amount, the entire fund was over, which is not. I always like to point out 2 lines down from that second boldest section there, second widest bold section there, general, 6.48%. Of course, that's because that's the department that we have the budget stabilization amount in. Any questions on that first page, commissioners? Next page, health department, you can see those that are currently over the 66.67%. Those are ones Daryl will keep a close eye on throughout the end of the year. Of course, you can see we'll have to do a budget amendment on Riley County Fire District capital outlay. Well, I say we'll have to do, we don't have to on capital outlay statutorily. They are not required, but since about the late 90s, early 2000s, it's been Riley County's policy to budget all funds, which goes above and beyond what state law requires.
That's third straight year we'll be doing that.
Doing what?
Budget amendment for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions on that page there, commissioners? And of course, Rcpd operations, we've had their second allocation to them, so they should balance out by the end of the year. Next page is all enterprise funds. An enterprise fund is a fund that receives all of its funding from individuals that live in that benefit district or own property in that district. You can see only one's exceeded at this point in time, Hunters Island Water District. Now, once again, Daryl worked closely with Julie Winter and Public Works, who manages those funds, to see if any budget amendments on any of these will be needed at the end of the year, which is getting here faster than we would like to admit. Any questions on that page, commissioners? Next page, 2022 County General. Here's where you can see that personnel item, line item bolded at 122.29% of what's budgeted just for that line item. Overall, in the fund, in this department, we're doing fine. You can see the miscellaneous, the budget stabilization at $3,050,000 is, of course, why that is atypically low as percentage. Any questions on that, commissioners? Next report is a comparison of 2021 to 2022 expenditures by department. Just a little snapshot for commissioners to look at comparatively. The department spending from one year to the next, August to August, and also year to date through August. Well, it's a good snapshot comparison. It's not always an apples to apples comparison, but if anything ever catches your attention, you'd like more detail on those two respective years, we'd be glad to get it for you. Any questions on that report, commissioners? Next report's year to date expenditures for Rcpd. The expenses I always like to watch on this are anything medically related for inmates, because that's another one of those that we always give our best guesstimate on budgeting, but it's always contingent on the clientele that they're holding at that time, and that can vary rather quickly, and also building maintenance. I like this next report a little bit better. Rcpd expenses paid by Riley County gives a good snapshot comparatively from 2016 to current where we sit. You can see the last few years we've been atypically high on the physician. And once again, we're at that same point again this year. So it's just due to the clientele statute reads, Riley County is responsible for all inmate medical. And so, of course, that's what we have to do, regardless of what it may be. And we have had everything show up in the Rcpd jail before as far as medical expenses. Always like to keep track of building maintenance, which is atypically low at $21,361, but it can go up quickly because those expenditures are rather expensive when they do come about. Work closely with John Ellerman on those. Any questions on those, commissioners?
Part of that physician, we had high numbers in the jail.
Yeah,
last 2 years.
that impacts it as well. Yeah, we have, that's a good point. We have had last couple of years a higher inmate population for sure. A lot of it, it's typically a lot of psychotropic drugs is what we're dealing with right now. Offsite inmate medical expenses paid by Advanced Correctional Healthcare. That's our contracted healthcare provider at the jail facility. That's a great benefit for the community and Rcpd. It didn't used to have this in place years ago. You can see our ADP is at 97, which does have a direct impact, as Commissioner McKinley was talking about the overall expenditures. Our pool balance, we still have 22,498, which is good at this point in time. Any questions on that, commissioners?
Kind of surprising we have that much left.
At this point in time, but a lot of times those bills are behind as well, so it can catch up in a hurry.
Sure.
Also like to point out, commissioners, as you know, but for anyone watching, and remind
people that although RCPD is a consolidated law enforcement, the county is solely responsible for all buildings, facilities, and inmate costs. No other public entity in Riley County contributes to that cost. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, if you got commissioners go through those reports, have any questions, let me know. I'd be glad to get any information you would like. Next is Daryl Edie at 9:15.
So this one is the question.
See, that's good. Raleigh County Attorney's Office. Well,
He is the county.
sure it is.
He's
Okay.
got a council.
Yeah, that's right. I see. Yeah.
Yes,
It is easy, yeah, sometimes
That's because the attorneys do that.
we do it just
They
to
do
test
that,
with us.
yeah.
But apparently it's working.
Good morning.
County councilors.
There's actually several smaller counties that do that.
Yeah, save a lot.
Is council.
Consolidated.
Yeah.
One in Ottawa.
Yes, Super County, Thomas County, there's a few of them. Yes, a lot of them.
So who all got wet at the game?
I stayed at home.
Yeah,
Before it started. I went, no, I'm gonna do
I
that.
watched it.
I watched it too.
It was
Some
funny.
people don't have enough sense coming out of the rain.
They were showing a picture of I-70 and it was backed up quite a long ways, early in the morning.
Some friends were trying to get home from Kansas City.
Well, this is people coming from that direction. He's not even the other direction.
Yeah.
Wow. Good to see.
Trying to load on to 177.
Yeah. My guess is part of those are people that had to maybe take the detour from Council Grove and Buncy County, had to come back up and around. That was my guess. That's
There's
quite
another
messy
way
for
to do
everybody.
that, going through like White City and
Coming up, what is it, 59 or whatever it is, and then
Yeah.
coming through 303 instead of 313.
all depends on how far away you are.
Yeah,
Which one's better?
that was the first home game since all that, so maybe nobody had that figured out or planned specifically.
The week before the first home game, I was interacting with the conference for Wichita. And I was already getting traffic on Friday night.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, where's this coming from? And followed them all the way.
And see what happens, at least the old policy is, I'm sure it's the same policy as the hotels. If you're gonna book a hotel, you gotta book 2 nights. And so
And they're pretty pricey this year, from what I heard.
Oh, they have always raised prices.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, it's.
catching up for COVID.
Maybe we'll get them off a voter list.
Good luck with that.
Wow.
That's a sniper.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's a couple new bread and breakfasts in town because of nothing.
Well, I mean, it seemed like there for 5 or 6 years, attendance kind of dipped and, maybe the excitement just kind of wasn't there or something maybe. And then of course, COVID happened. So those last 2 falls have been what they've been, but like this year, boy, it's back in full force. And you can just tell the energy,
Oh, man.
going in places. I mean, I'm not complaining. Not as I sit here, but maybe while I'm in line, every once in a while I get a little frustrated, but it's good.
No, it was
Good.
full. It
Past the
was full to
stadium.
start. Yeah, start of the game.
Yeah.
It was packed.
You go past the stadium, it's Friday night, and Saturday, it's packed,
Mhm.
clear on both sides. Of course, having that great big huge infield now.
I was gonna say, they took up a lot of parking there.
Well, they're supposed to balance part of that out by going to the old dirt and rock field there between
Yeah.
the rowing and
Rec
the
center.
rec center.
Right.
And there's gonna be with this new edge district, there's gonna be pocket parking in different places and stuff. It'll be allowable too. I think you can make They're not making any significant upgrades to the
It's still got
population
better-
of the stadium, so.
It's got to have better parking, but it's not like just, if they have the stadium.
Yeah,
on
sure.
campus,
Yeah.
on campus,
Yeah.
so there's
For sure.
Well, they're adding more busing too, because that's why they had those bus lane
Yep.
drop off points.
They got several drop off points at gates. They're going to be allowable for ride share too, which is what I typically do.
You got to do that now.
I mean, you're going to pay the same amount whether you're going to park or you're going to take an Uber or Lyft anyway. I mean, because they do like the hotels, they jack up their prices on Saturdays.
So good, they used to have the bus get from Nagyville. Get on there.
They can use
a scooter, Commissioner Ford.
Yeah,
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
they're dangerous. I've seen too many.
I saw a guy shooting down the sidewalk going towards the stadium. I drove past there.
Yeah.
No, my luck, I won't break anything on me. I'll just break the damn scooter.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Darrell Eady, Budget and Finance Officer. Next week you have the R&R hearing and the budget hearing. Thought it'd be a good idea to go over a little bit of what you've already approved, and in case there's any adjustments you want to make in the next week or anything, that's always a possibility. I did tweak a couple of numbers at from previous years, went over with the auditors and stuff to make sure everything's all nice, correct, and up to date. We do have the big chunk in there for the, I have it for the cost of COLA. It was actually for the salary study. I even changed the name of that at the very top or something. We did the salary study adjustments this time.
Yeah.
For the payroll, brought everybody up to market values, which hopefully we all appreciated. Down below, we also have the appropriations for Big Lakes Animal Shelter, Council of Aging, ATA Bus, Small Cities, which is a new one this time because we're getting rid of the half-cent sales tax and going to, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce this, the 0.02 cent sales tax. 0.2 sales tax. So you want to have to make sure you get the terminology on that one, right? So we'll be allocating a little bit more to them. Then we have the emergency shelter extension, Pawnee Mental Health, Riley County Genealogical Society, the Riley County Conservation Group, and the Riley County Community Corrections. All those went up a little bit. Well, corrections did,
Everything else was flat.
extension did, everybody else was flat. Somebody else went up. Oh, good. Then of course we have the bond interest, the county building, and Rcpd allocation. And then of course on the next page, we have that mill levy and what's going to take for the R&R. We were just off by, actually we went down 0.074 in mills, but that still causes a R&R hearing because we're at 42.211, values went up, et cetera. Creates that requirement. So you went down in mills, was a great thing. Up in salaries, great thing. So you had some good stuff and values just went up. You have some of your budgeted revenue in there. And then as requested, I still attach that economic development fund breakdown. You'll request that and what we're doing and how we're doing that. Now, some of the old ones are still on there just so you can see what you've done in the past a little bit in case you want to make any changes in the future. And you do have a couple of these, I believe they're coming off next year. Is the cons of water, is that last year for that one?
No, the auto lane is last year.
Maybe it's the auto lanes last year. There are a couple of them
I
coming pretty
think we
close.
talked about that. There was
I
2
think
years.
Conza is too.
But there were,
Two more on
Auto. Conza.
Okay.
no, on the
Gonza.
Conza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get pretty close on some.
But then why, if it's Conza's got up from 43,000 to 52,000? I thought that was a final payment of 52,000.
You've got a couple more years at 52. That's what's on the sheet for interest and payments. So any questions on any of that or any things you want for next week? Before the hearing or anything? Just another reminder and so people can see. Last week you had on the state one. That will be going to the state after your hearing and everything and after the auditors have approved it as well.
I know it's at 9:50 and 9:55 for both. On Monday, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's correct. It's either that or 9:55 to 10.
Yeah, it's one of we'll work on that. I guess we're
9:55 and 10.
okay. Try to pull it up here, but it's been slow on. There we go.
You know, the ones I've heard so far, only one person showed up for any of that. So,
It's pretty common throughout the state on our clerk
yeah,
listserv. Everyone talks about it. Yeah.
but any questions at this point?
Next, commissioners, you have press conference with Greg Eystone at 9:30. Morning, Anna. Morning, John. Morning, Rhonda. How's everyone doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'll be gonna take it personal for a second.
Oh, you were talking about the pack.
I get it.
We cried up on it, but I was staying out of that situation. Fancy.
Like when they're putting softballs up there for me.
Figured that's why we wore it to open it up today, so.
I just figured Daryl's just like you go around criticizing everybody all day long. That's what I thought it was.
Strange.
I'm really curious to see what OU's gonna do this year, to see how they're able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I'm not convinced it's gonna go as smoothly as people think. Just growing pains.
Just because.
Well, and it seems like with them, every year, they very early in the conference season, drop a game they shouldn't drop. Iowa State, K-State, I mean, that's even in good years.
Texas was impressive.
Yeah.
Gonna be interested to see what happens there because their young quarterback transfer got injured.
Oh, he did. Their starter?
Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
In that game,
Yeah,
I missed it.
didn't sound good, but
That's too bad.
Didn't hear what had happened, just heard the sound.
some schools are very hush-hush about what all that is to begin with. So they got a pretty good backup, it looks like. And their problem isn't going to be offensively. It's going to be defense still. Those athletes that they don't gel together defensively.
That was a fun game.
Yeah, it was.
Paradise.
I can't think that Alabama came in there overlooking that game either. So
Alabama can be one of those teams that starts out slow though, too,
That's the case, because I don't want Texas.
they really didn't look great, but Alabama really kind of laid an egg though too. So yeah, you kind of have to.
Early games are hard to judge.
They really are, especially non-conference, and you're not used to playing those teams. So you don't have a lot of it. I mean, Alabama and Texas last played in the 2009 championship game. That's how long it's been. So,
And the record of who has won that game. 7-1 in Texas. Yeah, over history.
Texas used to have good teams. They always have tons of 5-star recruits.
And they
Yeah.
They just can't play together.
got rid of Mac because he couldn't coach, they thought, or couldn't win enough. It's kind of like North Carolina. I said North Carolina, Nebraska, just like Nebraska getting rid of Solich,
after 10-3.
I remember Snyder said, yeah, firing after 9 and 10 win season.
I'm not gonna be
make any
here.
sense.
Yeah, but then even Pelini, when he was there, he won 9 games consistently.
But his.
Yeah, but his was other
Yeah,
things.
but
There was 2 things on him. One was public and the other not as public.
No yellow Tom Osborne. Make it Nebraska.
I remember when he chewed out Snyder after the 03 game because we ran the score up on him. What a joke.
That was the only disappointing about Saturday's game, that last touchdown.
Yeah, I agree.
That was kind of
See, I'm hoping that got me.
Apparently that caused more of a problem than you thought because the after game handshake between the coaches.
Oh, yeah, did you see that?
Kleiman kind of just kind of walked right past him. Now, he's mad they called the timeout with 6 seconds left to score that touchdown, but I don't know. I mean, don't give them the chance to do it, maybe. I mean, they were playing some second and third string guys at that point in time. So really, I just kind of, whatever.
Is it an unwritten rule, evidently?
Well, but I've heard other places that it wasn't just that one incident, that their coach.
He had Drinkwitz or Dirkwitz or Dumbwitz or whatever his name is.
Well, they said his
He's kind of a sarcastic guy. Yeah.
he has a lot of public nasty comments.
Yeah.
He made some recruiting comments.
Because we still have a couple of recruits on the Missouri side.
Well, guess what? Future looks good for stealing more.
well, they did go after Vaughn a couple of times too. I thought
Uh-huh.
a little in a questionable manner.
Yeah. I think they're figuring out that he's here. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the value of that game. Not necessarily what you saw that day, but in future years to pay off
Yeah.
in recruiting.
Well, in terms of the offense, I mean, Saturday's game wasn't one of those games where you really wanted to throw it down the field and get vertical and all that.
They kept trying to do that.
I just worry about that team's defense we face that could shut our run down.
Have they shown anything of the long short passing game yet, though? See, they haven't shown any of that.
They haven't actually added the tight end equation to that, and it's been thought of to be kind of a staple, probably with the Klein coach offense.
Well, Greg. Good morning.
You brought sirens with you this morning.
I guess so.
That's an annoying one too.
You're not going to turn it off. Sure.
Where is that sound coming from?
Sounds like it was a bird fly across the drive.
That's what
So we got it.
play a new game called Name That Siren.
Heard about that cars at that one stadium? Professional football game?
Yeah.
What, 5 or 8 cars went up and smoked a guy?
Oh, and your tailgate left.
Put the grill under his vehicle.
I did see
Under
that.
stadiums and like 8 cars were smoked. They said you could see the black plume in the
Yeah.
background of the stadium.
I mean, they were torched.
Yeah, that one guy had a Mercedes and 3,000 cash in it. He said.
And I hate, why would you bring either one of those?
See, what it was, he said.
That's almost like.
Everything.
It was at the Dolphins Patriots game.
Everything.
And it's like 8,000 degrees to start with.
Everything on the car is made of plastic, so of course, that's underneath it is just gonna.
Right, great.
Morning.
So I want to draw attention to a couple of programs coming up this weekend, actually. First one will be on Saturday at 10 a.m. Blueville Nursery Garden Center will be hosting. We'll be talking about good plants to grow in your landscapes. September is a really great month to plant. Soils are warm, so you get good root growth. So, and hopefully, you're after the stress of most of the heat and drought. And so hopefully it'll be a good planting season. So come on out Saturday, 10 a.m. Blueville Garden Center. We'll talk about landscape plants, tree shrubs, some perennials, those kind of things. Kind of a discussion more than a presentation, I hope. The other activity coming up will be on Sunday, the 18th. And so it's Movies on the Grass. And they've moved this from campus to the Manhattan City Park. Be there at the Larry Norval Band Shell. If it's storming, they'll move inside the pavilion. The free movie starts at 8 p.m. It's on plants, pollinators, and prayers. They usually have a discussion about the topic. And that has historically, my understanding, been after the movie, and people usually are kind of done for the day and go home. So they're going to have a discussion before that. And I've asked Jason Graves, he's our horticulture agent in Central District, which is Salina. And he's going to come up and have the presentation or start the discussion at 7:15 is my understanding, before the movie starts. So if you can come out, it's free. Anybody's welcome. Family event. The Raleigh County Conservation Service has donated some wildflower seeds for pollinator seeds. So they'll be available for anybody to pick up, first come till we run out. So they also have a pretty neat poster of pollinators that the Raleigh County Conservation Service gave us. So a couple freebies, at least on our end, and a good discussion. We're just encouraging that people plant habitat for pollinators. So a lot of our food comes from pollinators. You typically think about the European honeybee, which is not a native. And we have over 200 native bees in our environment that do a lot of the pollination as well. And so they need their kind of habitat to grow. So water, some plants, shelter, those things. So come out, enjoy the evening. We'll hope for good weather and a discussion about pollinators. And I have not seen the movie. I don't think it's real long, but kind of a documentary on title anyways, Plants, Pollinators, and Prayers.
Probably can't expect Tom Hanks or somebody to be in that movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the actual star is. Yeah, that's a good question. Just side note, we have started our Master Gardener training for the fall. There's 11 Raleigh County volunteers getting trained. So look forward to working with them as they get out in our community as well.
This is the sort of grant for grass seed in this, when's the end of the fall?
Yeah,
I've got a patch, I gotta review.
So September is kind of planting month. So yeah, if you haven't done the tall fescue, maybe some bluegrass planting yet, sooner the better. Historically, we say October 15th, but that's just an average date. Sooner the better. So if you can get to it, got a little moisture. I don't know about temperatures dropping yet consistently, but at least you got some moisture. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Next commissioner, John Ellerman at 9:40.
That's a pretty good question since people out seeding and watering. Yeah, what's that time of year?
Yes, sir.
Giggles is never else. This for giggles. It's nice to go. We need more here. Story I know.
It wasn't as high as I expected.
It didn't seem as bad.
It was still harder. Yes. Oh, that's actually it's just straight down.
Feel fire right north. Do you hear anything?
Okay, so
Grass, somebody that was
sometimes
we're in the field.
Okay, that's kind of like.
And then, there's an injury, somebody, well, it wasn't one of the fire. Somebody,
That was my
I
second
don't know,
question.
I was a resident, it wasn't one of our guys. Somebody had an ATV out there, and she was healed and into our.
Yeah, well, that answers everything I need to ask. Anyway. It was just kind of weird because it was just kind of out of the blue, so I kind of naturally thought that time of year, people thought it was gonna rain on Saturday, so it's kind of good.
Yes. I got out of control. That's what halftime, I was so. Restless.
Yeah, he got
Me, but he's the one.
I know. I don't know what he know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's here.
Right.
Anything but that.
I'm ready to go.
He said, he said, when we may not do all this involved, he said, when we do that, all of it. But the balls are that big. But it lets a lot of people west.
Yeah.
So you're to blame. I said, you're to credit. Yeah, that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Then people, I haven't seen the light, I think it was there. It's fine, I didn't see like it. Well, but the opera thing shows.
Yeah,
They have to see stuff.
I saw and heard both at home, and I'm just literally up over the hill, so, yeah.
Well, and just your five, and you were grown, but that just then big old thunder roll through that thing.
All right.
Ready? Good morning, John Ellerman, Public Works.
And today I'm asking to refill a traffic control tech position. Didn't lose any more employees. It's just he's transferring out of traffic control and into public works operator 2 position on our gravel crew. So this opens up the traffic control tech position. Traffic control, installing, maintaining the traffic control devices, direct and protect and monitoring public traveling through the county wide system. Budgeted position, full-time. Asking to refill it.
Seated. There, do that one, so, okay. Okay, so I make a move then to approve the Public Works Department advertise for the open traffic control technician position.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve public works advertised for the open position. All in favor? Aye. All three sign, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next commissioner, you have Gibbs at 9:45.
Maybe better.
You doing? Kaylin, doing good?
Yeah.
Good. Good.
I make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Commission and reconvene as the Board of County Health.
I would second that.
Moved and seconded to recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of Health. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good morning again. I'm here with the WIC state contract. And this is already, the budget has already been approved and signed by you. So this is the actual contract. So this will begin, their year begins October 1 and runs through September 30th. And this is nothing out of the ordinary. This is what it looks like most years. So if you have any questions about the contract, either I can answer, I brought Kaylin, our WIC supervisor, with me to answer any questions.
Pretty standard, and like you said, we already
They went through it.
yeah, basically it's just a formality.
Yeah.
Go ahead and recommend that the Board of County Health approve this annual contract between Riley County Health Department, WIC, and KDHE.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract for WIC. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that the same one or a different one?
It's kind of like the same.
Okay.
It was coming from
It feel like it was coming from that direction.
Well, this time it got here.
There it is again. No, it's not the key maker because we thought they offered wood stones, so there's no harm.
What's it like having to pedal?
It's not easy. It really won't.
So what? Rich.
Sir,
So I'm lines over.
just, sign your name there on that side. Yeah, some forms are clearer than others, and that one is very clear.
Now we're putting the horns into the equation. What's going on this morning? This should be for Monday.
Pretty good out there. Alarm. It is.
You notice it didn't start till after Greg was gone.
I don't know.
Coincidence?
Last couple of weeks. I always thought people grow so nicely around here. The last couple of weeks, I've changed my mind.
It's different this year.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm like, what is going on? I've been here a few years now. And you think it's just a fluke, and then the next day you're like, no, there's a lot of church out private today.
It's representative in some of our traffic accidents and fatality data too. So, there's correlations. Actually, the state, contracts.
And the conserved paper, we make there's 5 copies of everything, but 55 different. Okay.
How's David doing?
Been a good year.
Enjoy Applebee's Friday?
Yeah, did you bring anything? I didn't see it. Yeah, it was.
You could pick better company though, and you can tell him I said that.
Hadn't seen a movie that night too. It was good.
Is Gary Olds.
Oh, yeah. We haven't seen him yet. For a while.
Way to
Next
go.
Monday.
Way to go.
Probably Monday.
Yeah, next Monday.
But the jinxing.
No, he didn't show up in the cities though.
No.
It's a lot of other things going on that night, but too. I don't know.
I went to a fundraiser Saturday. It was me and an attorney running for office and his cronies just going around to the vendors campaigning. So they called it after an hour, backed up, started giving stuff away. I got a free bottle of wine.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't get a story.
Yeah, you did a bottle of wine.
Guess after all, I could have made up a story.
Right. No, there's stories about.
Really good story. I got brunched. window spray. But I got a bottle of wine. From West Portland. I didn't even know.
Yeah. Make a motion that we recess as the Board of County Health and then reconvene as the Board of County Commission.
I would second that.
And moving second to recess of the Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye. What's the second? Gonna need a split for your name.
You, this time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
David's time.
Morning, hi, David Willis with Riley County Parks. I'm just here to discuss the regards to University Park. So they had, about reading that whole paragraph, they basically have some money left over for their allotment for the community funds. And we're just wanting to spend $700 for a window in a building they have out there at the disc golf course that the public uses. That building, there's a restroom in there and that kind of stuff. And currently the window's just boarded up and they would like to replace that window. Was there any questions about that?
I'm just not used to seeing money being left over. That's all. Oh, that makes perfectly good sense to me. So.
Was that because of disc throwing or?
No, that's probably a historical home. So it's just really, really old and the windows, I think they're gonna actually try, or for their next year's community fund allotment, they're looking at wanting to try to replace the rest of those windows, I believe. So this is the one that's the worst. So no disc golf. I take it just broke for whatever reason.
Is that the old stone house?
So correct.
I would make a motion to approve the expenditure at University Park.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the expenditure of University Park. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Non-competitive, competitive.
Back with more.
Meeting, Catherine. Missed the meeting last week.
Well, for some reason, I didn't get it on the calendar. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But if I don't write it down, I don't remember.
That happened.
I don't know why. But I realized I emailed Bill. I said, I can't believe I missed it. And that's all right. Was it a good presentation?
Yeah, it is.
You're above your quota.
For the background of what they've done in other projects. There's one they showed in Tennessee and one in Sarasota, Florida. But those are all really big projects. So I think it's Nashville is the one. So yeah, a lot bigger scope than what we have.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. I don't know if he has it online that I can have him send me a copy.
I'm sure he could probably send you the PowerPoint.
That's probably going to be at the meeting Thursday meeting.
Could be, yeah.
I'll email him instead. So, but yeah, I don't know why I didn't write that down. It's just like,
Yeah. Believe me, I've done that multiple times. So. See you, everyone.
Yep, take care.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to stay working down. Great. Nah, I hope I get something.
thanks going on.
That's it, right? Last night, John, 697 for pool holes now.
Yeah.
My
Starting
dad,
to worry about 3 weeks left or 2 weeks left if he's gonna make it.
I think you're that close. You got to come back next year to get it.
I don't know how helpful that would be.
Gotcha.
He did make a diving catch the other day. I was kind of joking whether he dove or just fell.
Out. I don't know. I mean, you watch Tom Brady play.
Yeah, but I watched him, been watching him and Yanni, they just don't run.
No.
I mean, they make them look fast, but they just focus on them, cleaning their arms, but if you see the whole field, it's not very fast.
Speaking of, who won that game? Dallas and
Bucks won last night.
what score?
That was pretty.
It was 13-3 or 6.
Yeah, it was real low scoring. Dak Prescott got injured.
Oh, we did.
And something with his hand, some freak accident.
He hit it home.
Was it a helmet? I actually started watching it, but I kind of dozed off. Tired, I guess.
So Brady's gonna struggle this year.
I don't. I think he's got.
You think he's an angel?
I don't think he's ageless. I just think he's got the right group of people around him to play. And they've got a good offensive line. They've got several good receivers.
Lost some on the line now.
It took him a long time to score a
I've
touchdown.
lost some on the line, and here's you don't have Gronk anymore. Well, Gronk didn't play every play. If you needed yards, that guy just gets you yards. He could have 2 defenders hanging on him, and he just grab it and get a few yards. He was such a physical presence. I didn't really pay attention to him much until the last 2 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy just dominates when he needs to.
And they went out and they got Julio Jones. Well, you can say what he won over the last couple of years, but he fits that protocol there. Big, tall, athletic. He made 2 catches last night that were Gronk-ish.
I've never seen anyone like Gronk and Gonzalez do that. It's like
Kind of have. Travis Kelce.
I was going to say Kelsey.
yeah, Kelsey.
I would say
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Yeah, I agree.
You said yesterday Kelsey matched one of Gonzalez's records, Kansas City records. So
The
what it
difference-
was.
Did he? I
The
missed it.
difference with Kelsey though is he plays a little more finesse. He's not the physical dominating force that Gronk was.
Another one, Antonio Gates, used to play for the Chargers. He was pretty physical. He was a basketball player by trade, but by tight end could go up, catch the ball, come down with it, and it was hard to
Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He played.
And I saw a lot of frustration on Brady's face last night.
Oh,
Just a little bit that I watched early. He is not a happy camper out there.
Well, well, if you want to talk about that, you should look at Aaron Rodgers there because that was bad.
There was an earlier game in the afternoon, and I can't remember what team he's on. The guy they call Furious George. He's a Greek national, and he's fairly new to football. He's doing real well, and he played water polo at the international level. That was
What
his.
position did he play?
He's a defender. I can't remember where he lines up, but he actually made a kind of water polo slap at the ball at one point, and they kind of brought that into it. And it was just by happenstance. They were talking about, they were trying to fill time because the score was getting run up like a couple of those early games were. I wish I could remember what team he's on.
See, if you watch more than one game at the same time, Clancy would know useful information like that.
No, because I just turned it off. I just turned it off. But interesting though. I like that. No, he played at Purdue. I remember that. And he's a fairly new addition to the team, I think. And it was just an accident that they showed his background in the water polo, and they showed him up jump. And the very next play, he managed to get his hand on the ball and stop a pass.
I don't know about Marco Polo.
That's what he's talking about.
Oh, is that the same thing? Okay, my bad.
I've played that before.
It's like that insurance commercial where they're like, can't we come up with a different name?
I do like that.
But I have Marco Polo.
Then he trying to stop him.
Yeah.
This is
I forgot about that goofy commercial.
Whoever writes insurance commercials, and they're some kind of interesting people.
May not remember what the company is, but remember the company.
want to say it was Geico, but I'm not sure. So
That's the key.
on to other business this morning. Looks like we have a bid open this morning for a vehicle, is that right? Right. Okay. So the only one I see here is from Friesen, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Probably have a couple ones that they didn't mention. Price tag. Let's see. It says there's an option 1 and an option 2, or
Yep, correct. Option 1, 2022 or newer, and option 2, 2020 or newer. 12 miles.
not seeing anything for that option 2 then. You see option 1. This is for a 2022 Dodge Durango SXT. Let's see. Anything on mileage. 12 weeks from approximate order date. The total right is $41,596. Says it depends on spare tires options.
The spare tires an option.
Isn't that amazing?
They don't put those with cars anymore. Mine doesn't have it either.
I'd be surprised if you had a flat tire, I guess.
They give you this.
That's what all cars get.
They used to, but not anymore.
Well, the Twitchers, crappy tires on the start one.
They do.
I had on my car, it was new, it only went 30,000 miles and it needed tires. I was like, what's going on? It was initial.
Sorry, I'm writing all this stuff down.
We didn't have the option to.
To be honest with you, that wouldn't surprise me. Used vehicles are tougher to get.
Yeah, everything else.
Yeah.
Friesen, here we go, Friesen CDJR.
Yeah, I don't know what all that means. Oh, yeah.
Yes, for all the
Price.
yeah.
So what's the I?
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep.
Say IR?
No, CDJR.
Oh, JR.
Classified. All right. For 2022 Dodge Durango SXT, bid amount of $41,596.
And that's not a brand new one. It's.
Well, as of right now, it is. In a few
Now
weeks, it won't be
is, yeah,
considered.
because the new ones start coming out. We didn't get a used. Yeah. Minute.
Get a motion, commissioners?
Yeah, go ahead and make a motion that we send the bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded to send the bids to staff for review and recommendations. All in favor? Aye.
Next commissioner, you have John Ellerman at 10:10. You are, ma'am? A lot to review.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
They move up to 29 from the AP poll.
Yeah. And both.
I didn't see the other one yet, so I'm kind of.
So early on everything, I just don't give much stock in any of that yet.
What there were. Let's see. Oklahoma. Some state, Baylor, and Texas still.
Well, SEC had 8, I think.
Mhm.
But they're automatically.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, they have, let's see. Just 4 in the top 10?
That's the way it usually goes. Notre Dame's still trying to top 25, isn't it?
No.
I know, but typical, just because of the name and their gold helmets.
Iowa's score total 14 points. 2-2.
In Iowa,
Uh-huh.
they're a program on the decline, huh?
Well, but they was last year, the year before, they won their division. And they can't.
They did so bold game last year too, but
Same coach and everything?
he's actually,
Perrin's the one that's been there forever.
I think he might be the most tenured.
What's going on there?
And
Maybe it's just time.
but his son's the offensive coordinator. It's a lot of rumblings up there now. Because he was assuming it was going to be like he was going to take his place.
Makes it tougher to fire your son.
Yeah.
Or so they just, he got.
He's
Coach
been,
just got an extension through 29 years ago.
he's been there since 2000, 2001. He's been there for quite a long time.
Wow.
The head coach?
Yeah.
How long has the son been OC?
Probably not 20 years. Really?
Yeah, he's been there since 99. So.
Okay, that's right. Because I remember right.
No, last year they won their division. They were 7-2 in the conference. And 4 overall. This year. I assumed Frost was going to be out, but I thought they waited. It didn't make sense. This early doesn't do much.
I mean, and the other thing with that now
You
is,
got, it's one of those, you can't bring in a coach. It's
No.
same coaches are going to be
Right.
there.
and the other part of that now too is when, student athletes can just transfer on a moment's notice. They're taking a situation currently and making it worse
Yeah,
because
so I'm going to go.
3/4 of the team could be gone before even the end of the year. So you're not really setting another coach up, no matter how good they are, for any type of success,
It's better. Yeah, my favorite interception was one right in the line. We just jumped up and grabbed it. Right out the air.
Who was that, Green that did that? I think that was Green that did that.
Just
He had a couple good hits in that game too.
He's a hitter. What about old Savage?
Savage.
That guy likes to hit.
Reminds me of,
he had the right name, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he does.
He says after.
it reminds me a lot of David Garrett from about a decade or so ago, kind of playing that same similar role, safety, but it's kind of really your kind of weak side linebacker position that you can cover.
Also reminds me hits of that Cooper, or was it
Jared Cooper, yeah.
he was a hitter. Ready, commissioners? John, ready?
Good morning again, John Ellerman, Public Works. Today is my monthly update for projects. We want to go through these fairly quickly, I guess. Lakeside Heights, okay, it's opened last week on Thursday. One bidder hired an engineer's estimate, hired the USDA funding. Kicking around what we need to do next. As far as I can tell, we either rebid, accept the bid, or don't do it. There's some options there. I've talked to Austin with USDA. We're going to talk with SMH this afternoon on what we feel. I'm concerned that if we rebid it, that bid just went up. We're less than 3% over. We're like 1.5% over engineers estimate, 3% over USDA's cost.
When was the original estimate on that made? Do you remember?
I can't find the original. I think when we started doing this might have been 1920. It was before I got here in 21. So
Okay. So I was thinking about that after opening the other day. That's quite a long time to.
So with USDA, some of the options we have there is, of course, we can rebid and see what happens. Right now, at the end of September is the end of their fiscal year. So we won't be able to get any of this year's money, but next year there might be a little extra money left over, or if we get in early. Basically apply for a subsequent loan. By the time the project was scheduled to start in March, there may be funding available for additional funding to help the project. And more than likely, if it's up early in the year where the monies are divvied out. So yeah, he said the first 3 months, October to December, they're waiting to see how much money they get. From January to about June, July, they use it all up. In July to October, there's nothing left to get, right? So I think we might hit this about the right time. Assuming we accept it and go for that and still help maybe loan or grant. But there's still funding, maybe. Or the other option I was thinking is borrow from General and then receive that back from as we collect on assessment through the bond. But that's that. I'll come back to you with you when we make up my mind here next week or so, or next week. I hope. Keat Sewer, where we're at with that. Amanda's been giving you those updates, and it's Widow Bryant working for grant, trying to find us grant funding for that and University Park. West 32nd Avenue Bridge coming along pretty well. About 3-4 weeks ago, the deck had been poured, the whole superstructure. Now this week they should be pouring the handrails. And then getting ready for guardrail, finishing up their work and patching the road back together. Some of these others we're still waiting on office check plans to be finished. Fancy Creek, basically memo of understanding with the Corps still sitting on my desk and trying to find time to get to it to approve that or bring that back to you to approve. Parallel Road office check and working on permits. I think Flat Rock and Union Road bridges those are culverts. They're tidying up the right of way easements basically that we need for those two bridges. Tabor Valley, we're finished working with the landowners for easements. We'll have shoe flies on 3 sides of that bridge to get everybody around, and still waiting for steel delivery. I think another week or two that they, from their time frame that they said they'd be in. Parks crews back to mowing. We're still mowing. They put up the goalpost and the scoreboard that was set at Fairmount Park. I think this next CIP project, we're asking for the other set, the goalpost and the scoreboard for the other field. The oak tree on here, this one west of the courthouse. If we want to plant another tree in there, we probably need to start looking at taking this one down sooner than later and turn around and putting a tree back. October is about the time. So just so you know if it's coming down or if you really object, then let me know now. Forever hold your peace, I guess, or it's coming down. It seems to be a favorite tree of a few people around. I actually have one in my office that wants a limb or something from it.
Love that tree, but it's gone through its useful life, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was, I could tell it was a nice tree, and now it's not so much.
Yeah.
It's pretty old.
Oh, yeah.
So that you know, it's coming down here, it'll probably come down sooner than later, or so we can get another tree planted before the end of the season. They're starting to work on an irrigation project in the island where the flagpole is at Keats. He redid some of that landscaper, wants to redo the landscaping, make it look nice, and then pump some water into it and put some new plants and stuff in there. Park board meeting is Tuesday the 13th, tomorrow. And that'll be out at Randolph for them. Operations. They're looking ahead to maybe start, are they chip sealed? All the roads are chip sealed. Overlay projects complete. They put up some replaced guardrail at Fancy Creek and Winkler Mills. One of them where that truck had went through and took out a bunch of that old guardrail. We're doing some grading on county and township roads the last few weeks. Cleaning debris from the roadway from storms still. That should be about finished. We had pushed them all off on this side. Now we're cleaning them up off the shoulders. My agenda or my report said 4, but we had actually had 6 employees compete and 1 help moderate one of the events at the Snow Rodeo in Milford last week on Thursday. Of those, we had 1 take first place in the motor grader event, and one of the others took 3rd in the motor grader. And 1 operator took 2nd place in the wheel loader. But no, I think we're down, they think maybe 5th or so in the truck. The first place person, APWA was giving a $500 stipend for room and board and travel to Colorado. Loveland, I think, to the conference at Snow Rodeo there. I'm hoping to come back with you Thursday if I can, to squeeze in some time to ask for permission for travel out of state to allow him to go to the conference and to compete. So yeah, very good. He was proud. I'm proud of him that the guys competed and done well. So I've never been to one. I didn't get to make it over, but I did see an equipment rodeo before, and that's pretty intense on how the obstacle course and the things they have to do with the equipment.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those either. I'm just kind of wondering what they did.
I don't think that's something that staff participated in when Mr. Hobson was here. Do you know? Did
I
they?
think they've done the Snow Rodeo.
Yeah,
Well,
think
they've done it, I know, but I think it was prior to Leon. We used to go to it religiously, and Roger Nelson, I don't know if you know, he retired before you got here, but he used to clean up on it. But Rod Meredith, when he was here, was a big proponent of it. And so years past, we always did, but I wasn't aware if they did.
I think they've been going. I don't know if Leon made a big.
I know we didn't hear much about it if they did, but it's something in previous years that staff went to a lot because we had a lot of very good operators that qualified.
One year, I think it was 19, we did.
I don't remember.
My guess is it probably didn't happen in 2020 or 21 like
I
most
think
things
this
did.
might be the first one in a couple of years.
I think I remember hearing
It
about
used to be
that.
something we always participated in if we had someone that qualified in Colorado.
And I think we did in 19 too.
And yeah, many times Roger would go there and win it in Colorado too. He was that good.
Yeah,
He lives up north of Randolph, Roger Nelson.
So very proud of him. Sounds exciting. I'd like to see him go with, yeah, and he was wanting to go, so I'll try to get that in front of you. Squeeze some time in if that's all right, to approve the travel request and get him signed up. I threw this on here at the end of the operation side. I wanted to maybe get your feel for it before we move a whole lot further. Considering mixing sand with our salt for snow removal. It's a common practice around the state and other counties. The state KDOT does this. Mixing salt with 50 or so with fine sand, not enough to pick up and break windows. Traction, it stretches out our sand costs at $46 plus a ton for sand and $9 a ton, or $46 a ton for salt, excuse me, and $9 a ton for sand. Mixing it half and half, it's about what, $25 a ton.
It's not as effective on ice. Is it effective on ice?
You have a little less melting power, but you have more traction. So what we're looking at now, if we don't mix and spread, we're not gonna, probably won't spread as often. We'll spread it, let it set, let sun hit it, and then come back before we start plowing it off.
Yes.
Sorry to get my nose in this, but I am a county resident. As someone from the snow capital of the United States who had to drive in all of the weather, salt is wonderful for melting ice to a certain temperature. Sand gives you more traction. And around here, we don't get much snow for the traction, so the sand is actually helpful.
I say that's most places I've seen do the mix it. Yeah, the salt and sand.
Oh, yeah.
What does it do to surface?
Sand does much of anything. It's light enough too as the traffic hits it, which
That was my point.
the salt that does the most damage to
Yeah.
you.
And because usually we talk about snow, we put all that stuff down, and a lot of times we don't get snow. Seems like to me, this would be less damaging overall is another positive.
I wasn't sure how receptive it would be to the public or even to you of the habits, I guess, that in the past it's been pure also.
Right.
We can always go back in times where budget's tight. If we get big snow, with the fuel costs, and that we're eating up budget pretty quick this year. That's the biggest consideration in here is that if you do it right, it should work about as good as just plain snow.
Do you have the option of monitor or changing the mix depending on the type of storm?
If you can plan that far ahead, maybe, we'd like to have some mixed up before we start.
Yeah.
You said step ahead.
You mix it up ahead of time.
Yeah. Sure.
Since you said you're, or at least sound concerned about the public acceptance, maybe a commission agenda report and then to fully maybe explain in more detail
Okay.
the cost saving to the board and the public and potential benefits.
This was just to give me a little bit of a feeler, but we can definitely do that.
Okay, yeah.
It's actually safer. You should get traction.
Okay.
So, other ones, public safety headquarters, we're reviewing the design agreement with Rcpd. We begin the procurement process for our construction and management at risk with Thursday's commission agenda report and the public meeting on the 26th.
29. Yeah.
It's on my calendar, not in my head yet. Worth County Station contract, property contract, we can, we get that in our name and on hand, we can start moving ahead with survey and some other stuff going on. More stuff will be going on with that. Universal Park Treatment Plant, EPA fine be due by the end of October. So we're looking at starting probably the request to write that check here first October to get that in plenty of time. And then we have SMH working on a design contract for the lagoons. K1324, if you haven't noticed, last week, Wednesday, I believe, fire was out setting up traffic control from narrowing the lanes down and putting up their own speed trailers, message board with the speed boards. Those repairs will be realigning the turn lanes where they you'll face each other before you turn. Maybe narrowing down the lanes to make everything look tighter so it brings the speed down is the intent until the design and construction starts for our design is complete, construction starts for the roundabout. We are looking at taking some quotes or receive some quotes for the water tower inspection at University Park. That'll need to happen here pretty soon. Open positions, facility and ground tech. We had 2 operators. We did the transfer from traffic control to operator, and we made an offer Friday for the other operator position. So those are looking promising. But we still have an engineering tech, a purchasing agent, and a traffic control technician position. So haven't brought the purchasing agent to you yet. There's a couple positions there. There's 3 positions that we want to rework into 2. And we have existing people that might be able to cover that until such time as we need the purchasing agent to come back. Purple Wave auction ends tomorrow, I believe. Of the excess equipment that we have sitting up there. It seems like a long time ago since I brought that to you, but I think they've had it out there advertised for about a month. So it's typically 2 weeks longer than normal. And that is all I have, unless you have questions for me.
I'm Brandon, commissioners.
Yep.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Go ahead and have.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Good to go ahead and get started. All right. Good morning, Commission. Anna Burson, appraiser. I'm just here to give you the update on things in our office. So in personal property, our staff are currently working on our abates and escapes and preparing for the October certification. New properties being added for 2023. We're continuing to work through our agricultural annual review and sales. Watercraft's kind of at a standstill until the state provides a quarterly report, which they have informed us they are behind on. We are excited to report Kayla has started in the role of personal property appraiser 1. And when time is available, staff will continue to work through scanning our historical documents and cleaning up the personal property filing system. On the residential side, staff's currently completing the annual review process, wrapping that up, reviewing sales and gearing up for building permits and new construction. I'm pleased to report that annual review process is currently at 94.8% complete, which is 36% increase over last month's report. After the press conference and radio discussion last month, we received a significant response in the surveys that we sent out. More so than historically. Typically, when we go out to properties and leave those cards, we get a very minimum response. But I think with the amount of keeping people informed, we definitely got a very good response. As of September 2nd, we have 1,107 sales, of which 938 are residential properties. That's an increase of 159 residential properties since the last update. The total permits for 2022 are at 261, which is an increase of 55 over last month. The county median sales ratio is currently still at 88%, and the median sale price is $215,750, which is almost identical to the $215,000 at the last report. Sadly, I do need to report that our Appraiser 3 land specialist, Vaughn, will be retiring at the end of the month. His knowledge and expertise will be greatly missed, and we're working to ensure our current staff have a clear understanding of some of his duties and responsibilities. And so I'll get into a little bit more on some of that further in the update. Commercial has almost completed all their annual review of the commercial properties. They received the AJ's Pizzeria small claims results, and the county's value was sustained. I've included a spreadsheet of the commercial BOTA appeals docketed and waiting to be scheduled. There's a summary report, including the figures by business name and a summary of the total appealed value. In addition, I've included a detailed summary by parcel ID number. There's one additional BOTA appeal docketed since the last update. This is for Icon Investments in the parking lot by the Auto Museum. During the last update, I informed you that Icon Investments small claims decision was received and the county's value was sustained. Icon Investments is now proceeding to BOTA. This puts the county's total open BOTA cases at 65. Tenant interviews have begun for apartment complexes and will continue over the next several weeks. Appraisers are in the field gathering rental information throughout the county. Staff is also currently working through the implementation of the new expanded commercial depreciation matrix, as well as reviewing and implementing the economic life study and other improvement study provided by the state. And this does include agricultural buildings as well. And so in a summary of some other work and things that are going on, position description updates and salary study, placement review, and discussion with staff. We've heard a lot about the placements and getting positions to market. I did a lot of working with Elizabeth, and since I've been here, reviewing position descriptions, which has been a bit of a challenge. Our descriptions were slightly antiquated and outdated, and so we focused during the review on some pertinent details and positions that had to be updated. But now with the appraiser 3 land position opening up, I'm going to have to shift my focus on all of the residential positions. One of the things that we found was that there is not an appraiser 1 position for residential or commercial. And in any office, you should always have a level 1 in case you cannot get qualified staff to fill those upper level positions. And so I will be working with Elizabeth. She's been a huge asset in this process to make sure that the job descriptions appropriately reflect the skills needed, the coursework needed, and just the expectations in all of the positions. And so in reviewing with each of the staff, I did also let them know that there would be updates coming as we proceed in the direction that I see the office going. We just returned from conference, the International Conference of Boston, where we gathered a lot of information. I did sit in on a dark store presentation where they discussed the history of dark store, arguments surrounding the theory, and what's occurring in other areas across the United States, results of a few nationwide cases. So lots of information gathered, lots of technology, just different up and coming ways of doing things, just things to consider as we move forward. I also have attended several meetings in the last month, intergovernmental luncheon, in an effort to meet other leaders. I did attend the Flint Hills Roundtable discussion with economist Dr. Stanley Longhofer from Wichita State University. We met briefly with some of the other leaders in the Flint Hills Realtors Association. And we discussed when we start setting values for 2023, possibly setting up an additional meeting just to prepare realtors as well as help them understand what homeowners might need to know as we move into valuing the properties for 2023. I've been working closely. This next point is for the Gis Appraiser Maps. I've been working really closely with our GIS department. One of the things I've learned in all of the counties and the 2 other counties that I've worked in is visuals really do help identify any areas that could be considered a problem area or something where we might see some inconsistencies. So I've worked extremely closely with Sherry, and I have to just extend a thank you to Sherry and our GIS department, because without their help to make this project work, it just wouldn't have been possible. And so I am happy to report that by far, I think the maps that we are now utilizing and the information it's showing the staff is far greater than I've seen in any of the counties that I've been in. So I really want to thank Sherry and Jake and just the whole team. I think that we're making huge strides there, and the staff will definitely be able to use this information as we move forward. And the last part was the job descriptions. I kind of touched on that in that first point as well. The positions and grading is based on what I would expect already. So, all of that review's been done. All of the positions are placed based on what we would expect in them. We just have to update those positions to reflect everything. And so the staff are prepared, and we're going to be working on focusing on that appraiser 3 land, and then all of those potential residential positions as well. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about any of the information that was provided? I mean, that report, I don't know if that gives you a little clearer picture as far as potential dark store arguments. It's hard to say because that argument can be made in multiple cases. At max, it looks like about approximately 7 could use that argument. Again, whether they will or they won't, we won't know until they're heard. As you can see, some of them kind of encompass a number of years.
Do other counties have this many on their BOCC list? I mean, similar size counties?
As far as for the commercial deals, I can't speak to similar size counties, but I can tell you that there's a backlog. I mean, with many counties. What is the holdup? I just can't speak to that. Why are we waiting so long? I don't know.
When you say we're waiting,
we're waiting for docketed dates and times from BOCC.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got the docket numbers for all of them, as you can see on that detailed list. But as far as anything being scheduled at this point, we're getting nothing scheduled. And so I don't know if that Supreme Court decision will help them to start scheduling some things. It's hard to say. I'm surprised myself as to why we're still waiting for 2020. I mean, there's 2 2019s and we're still waiting.
And well, all this potentially could hit us at the same time, similar times, right? These are all the years.
It's hard to say. I mean, when we had the one case that was heard last year was supposed to hear 2 years at one time. And when they got to the board, they only heard 1 year of the 2, which it's hard to know what to expect.
Well, the problem with the backlog on that is,
Yeah.
you know, when those payments and penalties and everything are paid, they're not paid through 2019 or 2020 or 2021. It's out of your current year's budget. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't recognize on that. And there is, I don't know what the percentage is, 8%, 10%, and a penalty that's added on top of that. Yeah.
I think it's near 10.
Yeah. Okay. And with inflation and everything, I know that's changed from where it was earlier. So keep in mind that those 2019 and 2020 and 2021, those budgets have been developed, they've been discussed, they've been passed, they've been expended, and they've been audited. So you're not taking the dollars out of those years, you're taking it out of your current year.
That's why I wanted to report the total appraised value and total assessed.
And the key is exactly what you said. Another aspect of that which gets lost sometimes is that's going to affect distributions.
Yep.
It's not just money that the county will not see.
Money the city won't see, and the school board is the largest portion of that. So, or school boards, I should say, it's not just one.
That's they only do one year at a time. Doesn't make sense.
Typically, when it's docketed for both years, they will hear both years as part of the presentation. So what happened and why they did that, that's just not a normal occurrence. But it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Same argument for every year.
Because the issue.
Some would say it's sitting there because it will draw additional interest.
Yeah, well, money, yeah.
I'd say which side does one side or the other get to choose whether it's 1 or 2 years? Or
Really, it's up to Voda. Voda will make the call. But it's in the interest of the party who wins on 1 year to let the other one sit for a while.
And that's where it becomes even more concerning, because if you consider the 2019 case that was heard and what was paid out for the testimonies from the expert witnesses we had, to have to pay them to testify for one case. And then now when it gets heard again, come back and do the exact same thing a second time.
And what that does is it puts the counties, not just us, in a position where, well, wait a minute, this is going to be 6 more months. We better find a way to resolve this because the bill's going up. And we know we're probably not going to win on this one. And it really is a tremendous advantage to the party that's appealing valuation. And just remember, the statute says that those hearings are all fair and even handled. They're intended to be by statute.
I'll ask you a question later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time to Clancy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clancy Holman, Riley County Councilor. You have my project list here. I'll begin first by just asking if you have any questions on those items that are italicized as updates. Be glad to answer any questions you've got. For that reporting period. Or a question on anything pending that does not happen to be on. Be glad to try and answer a question. There's no particular significance. Just by number of entries, you can normally determine which, sometimes, and this is one of those reports where you can probably determine how much time it consumed during a given reporting period. The only other thing I wanted to tell you is you may be getting some phone calls. We've got a current contract in place with a group called CGI. This predates at least two of the commissioners I know. There's a video out there available on the website that is kind of an introduction to Riley County. It's provided free of charge to the county. It has opportunity to have videos of various businesses across the county, that kind of thing. It's designed to be a resource for people, either maybe a business or a person is interested in finding out more about Riley County. And it's in serious need of updating. I'll just tell you that if you go out and take a look at it. But some of the local businesses, part of that contract is that the company contacts, basically cold calls, local organizations and asks if they want to be a sponsor. That's how they generate their income. And the sponsors of the video, when it's completed and updated, are kind of arranged around that video, and then anyone can click on it. So you may be getting some calls on that. I know I've already gotten one. I think Rich has gotten one so far. And usually it's phrased in terms of, hey, is this for real? Or is this a scam? Is there such a project? Yeah, it does exist. I just need some serious updating. So I'll be sending you some information of that. We need to take a look at both videos. We need to certainly reshoot the video of the commission chair. And then we need to update probably some of the scripts, but I'm going to send it out to you so you get a chance to look at it. You'll be seeing that during these next few days. And that's what I have, unless you have questions on it.
Probably too late at this point in time on that, but with our ability to do some of those things on our own now, will that really be necessary in the future?
That's a good question. It will always be up to the board. It'd just be a matter of if you decide you do not want to do it, you certainly do not have to, as long as you're not in current contract.
Right. Which I think we did. Did we?
Yeah, there's a contract.
That's what I thought.
I'll go back and double check. But
I'll put in perspective, the videos on there were from my predecessor, so that's how far it goes back. It's been 5-6 years.
And that's my concern, if we're gonna do that, we just haven't been keeping it up to date. So what value is it?
I don't think it is, particularly when we've got people here that can do the exact same thing and they're on the payroll to do those exact same things.
I'll send you out what we've got in terms of potential updates, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Decide how you want to proceed.
And it always has raised questions with companies. We always get calls and they're calling, is this legitimate?
Well, I'm sure today, I can understand that too,
Sure.
Okay.
That's all I have, unless you have a question.
Thanks, Commissioners. We have Catherine Hensler, 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
So where is this video you talked about?
If you go out to I'll have to go find it on the website myself because I was kind of searching for it. It's probably got a title that I should easily be able to find. I'll let you know. I'll send it
I
out.
was trying to look on here and see if I could find something.
Yeah.
It's just random.
Greg, can I talk to you for a second?
Be a pretty good Monday night game tonight.
Yeah, I heard, who is it?
Broncos and Seahawks.
Yeah, I want Russell Wilson to do good because I like him, but not a fan of that team.
The Broncos.
Puts me in a conundrum.
That's when you just watch the game and just hope it's fun to watch.
I guess I'm okay with them doing really good as long as every time we play them, we beat them, I guess.
Which has been the case.
Which was the same way when Manning was there. You know,
Yeah.
I like the older quarterbacks, or the guys that aren't
veterans.
expected to do good, like Wilson, because he was undersized and all that. I kind of root for those guys. And so Yeah, I thought they're trying to do well last year. Yeah, my wife first did. That one was all together last year.
That's.
Good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Hensler, Riley County Historical Museum. What a nice fall morning, isn't it?
It is.
The nice break from the heat. So I just wanted to start our report with new activities at the museum. The curator in education and design position has been listed for a few weeks, and we are actively accepting applications for the position. We have begun conducting interviews. We're currently on round 1 of 5 applicants, and we're hoping we find the appropriate person in that time. But if not, we have a round 2 already pointed out. We've currently accepted about 29 applications online, and they're coming from a very highly qualified pool from both local, regional, and national. We've been posting originally. We started with just kind of general employment format or platforms like Indeed, but we also sent material into Kansas Museum Association, Freedom's Frontier National Heritage Area, and PreserveNet. And we are receiving some just excellent applicants. We've been also sharing with social media, so we hope this has gone far and wide. And due to this time of the year, we're also receiving quite a few requests for internships, volunteer opportunities, community service workers, and even some military applicants have, well, not applicants, but volunteers have reached out. They're looking for volunteer opportunities, internships, both paid and unpaid, and people just generally interested in getting involved in the community's history. So we're very happy about that. We are working to update our volunteer program at the museum, which has been somewhat inactive over the last few months. With more interest, we definitely need a more structured system of applying, interviewing, reviewing, and then including waivers for their safe volunteerism at our site. Those, of course, come through the society, so the society does have their own process for that. As far as visitation and tours at the museum in the month of August, we had 259 visitors, and that includes guests going to the museum and the Goodnow House. It was a little decreased from the previous month, which I think was at 289. But still, good numbers, and we're happy for them. Education and outreach. During the last month, I participated in the K-Man in Focus interview on August 15th, and we just discussed generally the overview of the museum and the society, what we do, the historic sites that we operate, visitation hours, and just really letting the community know when they can visit and what they can visit. Our next In Focus interview will be next Monday, September 19th. And then after a period of inactivity, we have resurrected the museum's social media sites. We have been posting actively. I don't know if you follow us, but I would encourage you, if you don't, please do. That does help us get the word out. We're trying to post at least a few different stories each week. And then just from a statistics standpoint, going from virtually no activity to multiple posts a week, we are seeing that the our site is reaching, well, in the last 2 weeks, 11.3 thousand individual contacts. That's up 107% from the previous 2 weeks. So even it's great just to see what a little bit of activity can do and how the word gets out. That's also increased our page visits by 30% and a 20% increase in new page likes. So we would also greatly appreciate if you're on our site, share, encourage your friends to follow. That will help us advertise. And of course, social media, the way we're using it right now is free advertising. And then later this month, we do have some outreach presentations that our museum staff will be conducting. And that'll be, we have a couple, we actually have one this week, one next week, and a couple throughout the month. They'll be at Meadowlark, Stony Brook, the Senior Center, and the Riley County Genealogical Society. As far as our collections department, we have finished our collections management policy. That's a document I brought up in a previous report. The edits have been made, and the final draft, I hope, will be presented to the Riley County Historical Society this week at their board meeting. And then the plan would be, if that's approved, even approved with edits, we'll make those edits and it'll be presented to the trustees in October. And then if that is approved, it will be coming to you commissioners, hopefully my November staff update. And during the last month, excuse me, in August, we had 11 new donations. So that would be 11 groups of donations, and that includes 183 items. Our curator of collection, Don Munger, this month conducted an inventory reconciliation of the museum's framed pictures, paintings, and maps. That totaled 665 items. And we do those regular inventories of the collection. It allows us to mitigate and prevent loss and damage. It helps us to understand what needs to be repaired and if any conservation efforts need to take place. And then it does help us to go through and determine whether or not items that are currently in the collection, if they really need to stay in the collection. As far as archives and library, Linda Glasgow has been actively accepting research requests. And I'm sorry, it's not in the report in front of you, but in the month of August, she did have 10 patron visits. So those are walk-in research requests. 38 came through email, 9 through telephone calls. And so that's a total of 57 research requests that she handled last month. She also monthly writes an article for the Reach newsletter. And this month was for the Interurban Railroad Company. And it's from an article from 1914. And I'm sure if you got the Reach newsletter, you'd be able to see it right on the top page. We are also beginning to share those stories on our social media pages. If we're doing the work, we might as well share it. So we're waiting for it to run in the newsletter, and then we'll share it on the social media page about a week later, just so the community can also enjoy. Building and grounds. One addition here. Okay, so back in the month of June, you probably remember, we had some issues that occurred during one of those major storms. We had a power surge that broke portions of the museum's electrical system. And that was one of the main disconnect switches. It's currently been on order, and we just learned today it is in, and those repairs are slated for Monday the 19th. So we're very excited to get that completed. And then the Goodnoe barn, if you've been up at the museum, you've probably noticed some work was being done. The repointing, which is a component of the mortar, was completed by Hartman Construction and Masonry. It looks fabulous. And what it did is it pulled out some old mortar that was no longer useful. It was deteriorating, and they repaired some of the cracks that were occurring through shifting. And of course, the Goodnoe house is a state property. So this did not come out of county budget. This came through Riley County Historical Society and the state itself. 2 dead trees were removed from the property thanks to the county's Park Division of Public Works. They also trimmed a number of low-hanging branches that were scraping on some of our property, the museum, the Hartford House, and the Randolph Jail. So we're very grateful for their support. As a result of the county's active violence training, we came back to the museum and took a look at the facility itself. And we did notice a couple shortfalls that we're not comfortable with. And so we are working with the county's emergency management planner, as well as our security company, to help us fill in those gaps. And we will continue to provide updates as we complete them. Just a quick note on special projects. The filming with Most of the Time LLC took place at the museum on Monday, August 29th. Everything went well. And then the filming of the Goodnoe House with PBS Wichita took place last Thursday. Also, everything went well, no issues. We don't have set dates. We've been told for most of the time it may be spring. And then PBS told us for the documentary, it may be March or April. So I will update you once we have dates. And again, just very exciting opportunities to share the museum with the world. And I'd also like to thank you for your time as we hash through some of those agreements. I do appreciate all your efforts. It's turned out well. As far as the Riley County Historical Society, our nonprofit arm, you do know, I'm sure, that the Pioneer Log Cabin in City Park was vandalized sometime around August 21st. It says 20th here. We assume 20th because the city also sustained some damage and vandalism at that time. We were not able to report it until the 21st, which is when one of our staff people came in to open up the log cabin, which is when they noticed it when we called the police. We did make a police report. There were 3 broken windows. The cause is known. They were rocks through the windows. The rocks were inside the log cabin. So unfortunately, we have not found who did it. We probably will not. The city did let us know they do not have cameras that were pointing on our building. So the society, however, is very concerned by that. They are going to be looking into some security solutions, which will include cameras as well as alarms. I will update you as soon as we get more information on that. We have had estimators come in and provide us some bids on repairing those windows. Right now, they have a temporary fix, which is holding up quite well. We're checking on it regularly throughout the week, but the estimated cost of damage is between $335 and $620. I would also like to note there was some miscommunication through one of the Topeka news channels that picked up the story. They reported that the museum's windows were broken. That is not the case. No damage was sustained at the museum. This was all specifically at the Pioneer Log Cabin. We worked with them to fixed that and they printed the right story the other day. Okay, and so the society is now hosting their quarterly meetings and presentations again. And their event for the summer is going to take place this Thursday, September 15th, 7 p.m. at Meadowlark. Everybody is welcome. The topic will be behind the scenes for your Riley County Historical Museum, the VIP tour. And like I said, it's free and open to the public, and there will be light snacks served. So that's another offering that we consider on the outreach side. So I'll be presenting and the society will be there to speak a little bit about their additional programmings. And then just a final note, the Historical Society will resume their regular monthly board meetings this Wednesday, September 14th, and they'll be back to their regular monthly schedule until next summer. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Next, commissioners, I am up on the preservation of ballots and election records.
Have a good one.
Good day, guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
You too. Trying to get in more business. No, she's not busy. A zillion things going on.
Yeah, it's like I said, in the last report she gave, it's hard to imagine how we got that stuff done without that position, which a lot of that stuff wasn't getting
I was
done.
gonna say it wasn't getting done, I don't think. Yeah. Not in terms of what people expect
Yeah.
nowadays.
Give the board a little heads up on maybe even think about it ahead of time, since I'm going to be gone on Thursday. If you'd entertain scores today at the end of the meeting.
That's
Who
good.
won this week or last week? Anybody?
Must be the chair's year. I tell you, he might just make a sweep of it.
I was, like I say, everybody was complaining about that last touchdown. I went,
You would have still won it by 1 point. Well, even without it, you would have won it by 1 point.
I just knew that made it a lot closer to what my number was. With that touchdown that nobody wanted to see on it.
No.
You put the extra point in too. I would.
Didn't have the time left, I guess. Funny.
Great, commissioners.
Crazy ending.
This report's on the preservation of ballots and election records. You can see what instigated this, what started it was the Secretary of State's office email. But before that, as the commissioners know, we have weekly conference calls with the Secretary of State's office every Wednesday at 3:30 with all the county clerks across the state getting on. And this has been a subject for quite some time. And this is regarding the preservation of ballots and election records, specifically the 2020 August and November elections. The 22-month date, which was September 3rd, 2022, has passed. You can see the KSAs that dictate, and I really don't give myself an option of whether we shall not destroy or destroy. It says shall destroy. This is a big push from the Secretary of State's office. And matter of fact, if there's any county that does not comply, they want to call immediately. And so the commission's only role in this isn't to determine whether we shall or shall not destroy the records. You don't have that authority, but your authority is to appoint a representative from the two leading parties, which in the state of Kansas is Democratic and Republican. I had suggested and what staff had done, we contacted the Democratic Party chair and Republican Party chair and asked them if they would like to appoint someone. Thought maybe they might appoint themselves, but they did both have recommendations to appoint someone to witness the destruction of the ballots, that be electronic and hard copy ballots. So what I'm asking from the board today is to, in motion form, to accept those recommendations for the two representatives from the two leading parties to witness that process. And we will coordinate times respectively when we'll work on both of their calendars to do such process. Any questions from the board?
Is this similarly done in the past? Are we doing something different this time around?
Secretary of State's office is going through a much more formal process this time. And I think, as with all election processes, everything's getting much more formal. But no, you're correct. It had not. We'd always had Republican representative and Democratic representative, but it was just someone that we'd appointed from the party chairs, respective parties.
Yeah, because it's sad.
But as you can say, it's a process.
2018 or. Okay.
I think it's good, given the nature that these things be more formalized, and we go through them as they're intended, given the nature of business nowadays.
Okay.
So do we need to move to approve these?
That's what I would suggest, a motion from the board.
I didn't see a motion on here, so I was wondering about that myself. Okay. So I'll go ahead and make a motion then that the board approves the selection of electors. County clerk and elections officer will coordinate the destruction of the ballots for the August 2020 and November 2020 elections with the approved representation from both the Democratic and Republican parties.
I would second that.
And moved and seconded to approve the selected electors for the destruction of ballots. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Next, we will have the discussion, the board will have the discussion on the law board application interview process.
Cindy?
Here's this question. Oh, sorry. I think here's a question. Commissioners decided to go with on the interview process. I thought I had it in the packet. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Oklahoma games unite on Fox. Austin at 7 p.m.
Good. I'll actually get to watch it.
This last game was on TV.
Yeah.
Those hours during the day are too valuable for me to give up. So
Priorities.
I know that's why
And you're not prioritizing football.
radio
so
is on, but
I don't know what could be more important than that, but whatever.
Particularly as the weather changes, you're probably heading into a real busy time.
just seems like busy nonstop. So self-inflicted though, so.
Yeah, understandable.
Come on, blame somebody.
I do myself. Okay, to start, Greg, just want to kind of remind everyone where we're at and what got us to this point, and this is discussion for the board to have and decide how you want to proceed. But what Cindy brought over and I passed out to you is a list of questions the Board of County Commissioners agreed upon for the interview process or application process, whichever it may be. The board wants those that want to apply to be as Riley County representatives to the law board. It was left at the commissioners still needed to decide whether the last discussion was whether they wanted to have those interviews in person, i.e. during the public meeting here, or just submit their answers to the questions to the board and you review them in a public open session and then make your selections from there. So that's the decision at this point the board needs to make, along with any other direction you would like to go. Discussion at that time was, if we have them here in public and are asking them questions in public, does that encourage or discourage application processes? And so that's where we left it. Unless the board remembers something differently, just ask the board. Begin that discussion, at least decide which direction we want to go. Thank you.
When, is this, the terms are up this end of this year, right? For the existing ones. And we'll have 2 appointees for the next 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Can we just,
So how do we advertise? Is this just posted on the
Website and paper.
and in the paper? Do we put anything out on social media?
Yes, we absolutely can have Vivian do that.
Yeah, I think that probably be good.
What
And that'd be for all boards, but this one would be included, of course.
But then we accept, if we got a date, we accept applications till a certain date and then we review them.
Cindy generally schedules a time for the board to review applications that we received at that point in time. Usually about what time is it, Cindy?
Usually the first part of December.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
So are these two community non-elected people, or is there still like one elected?
So one elected this time and then.
One elected and two citizens, or
Right.
other citizens?
Well, and that's always been an ongoing debate for decades on, you also are public. You are also Riley County residents. And so that's a discussion this board has to make when they make those appointments. You can, and it has been done before to elected officials as county appointees because you are county residents. So,
And that's been validated.
and that's,
That's what you said.
mhm.
That is-
People have strong feelings one way or the other.
I've seen strong feelings, both one people saying we need citizens and others saying, well, we
Yeah,
need elected representatives because they're coming up with the budget that everybody.
those are the two main arguments.
I'm not promoting one or the other. I'm just. saying
Yeah,
I've
me
heard-
neither.
Heard both.
Those are the
Both
arguments for sure.
But we have to have at least one elected. That's and two others.
Well,
One other this year.
So one elected.
What is
It's
it this
one
year?
I thought you,
It's one county commissioner and one county resident. The other one goes to the city. The city.
It alternates every other year.
okay, so we don't
Oh, the
have three, we
second.
have,
Oh, they always get to appoint two extras and we have one.
Oh, yeah, that's because the secretary is technically considered county because that's a permanent position. County attorney.
County attorney.
Oh, okay.
That's the third one for us.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then the alternated year becomes 4.
so it's one elected and one other.
Citizen who might be an
It might be elected, depending on the decision made.
It's my personal preference at this point in time that we do the interview process and that be open and live.
Well, do we want? Because there's a separate form that they fill out to apply. Is that correct? This is in addition to the, I don't know if it's called an application or whatever it's,
Or for this, these appointments, we could make that part of the application process and say, if you're going to apply for this board, please fill this out as well. Because eventually you're going to have to do that anyway.
That's what I was wondering. And then, we wouldn't have to interview do we select a few to interview then? Or how's that?
That's up to you as the board.
Yeah,
Of course, so I'm asked.
I'll ask, because I can't remember how many applicants do we have currently for this board?
To look, I think there's a couple that we've had for a few years
Mhm.
and we're still holding on to.
Right. I was thinking there might be close to half a dozen, is what I was thinking.
I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many. The last I knew.
certain. Not like, if we get 10.
If we get 20, if we get 20,
It's
I
too
don't want to
much.
interview 20 people.
Yeah, no,
But I don't want to just interview one either. I want to.
yeah,
But
That
that's why I
could be
think-
part of it. I mean, depending on how many we get, the board might want to go through a pre-selection process if we get a large number, but if you only get 2 or 3, then
Okay, that's what I was thinking. If there's only a few, we can interview them, but if we get a stack, which I don't expect, but
I think we could let the
and
board
that's why
know.
I think it'd be good to have this as
As
part of the application,
application.
and then the interview.
We could do that.
There's my preference.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Cindy, be sure they
And
fill
even
that
the
out.
ones that already have.
We can send that to
saying
them.
They want this filled out.
I currently have 4.
so once this goes, when do we have to have this done by?
Well, by the 1st of December, the decision made, we will, I don't know if you have already, but we'll have Cindy send those that have already applied those questions and say, please fill that out so we can include with your application for this board. And then any new ones, we will have them fill out the application plus that questionnaire.
Then the application deadline would be the 1st of December, and then we make our decisions during December sometime. Is that
When's it, you typically have it on the agenda, the 1st of December?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be a little bit before that, the deadline.
So,
And we get it to you a week or two before if it looks like we have a whole lot. And I don't know what the number cutoff it is you want to make. You know, if there's only 4, do you want them all in person? Or if there's 5 or more, do you want to whittle it down before?
right? Just wait and see.
It'll have to be a call you'll have to make.
At the time, you know.
okay, but I would prefer having a selection process if there's a lot.
Right, yeah, I don't want to do 10.
I don't know if I'm public.
And just so the board's all on the same page, that, you know, we would schedule that on the agenda and it'd be an open discussion for the board to review however many applicants and decide which ones to interview. We'd have to do it in an open public meeting.
Oh, yeah,
I think we do need to interview. I'm sorry.
everybody that applies.
Well, not everybody. If you want to get it down to 3 or 4, that's fine.
Right.
But we do need to have an interview process.
Yeah.
There needs to
I
be,
think so.
we're talking about $25 million plus.
Wow.
And you know, that's a board that, even though they don't have taxing authority, they have authority to do that. I think the openness for us, the openness for the public, the openness for the media should be able to see that up front. If they're not willing to do that up front, then I question whether or not
That's
it should
true.
be a member of the
Well,
board.
that's true.
I just do. on
Because
this.
that is a public
Yeah.
position.
Do we allow questions from the public at that time, or do we have them submit questions if they want them? Because there will be people wanting to.
Well, they don't participate in it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a very important point because we know there's at least one advocacy group locally that wants this process to allow them to ask questions. I
I would say no. And I'll tell you
discourage
why.
individual questions. It's whether any one group likes it or not, it is a decision that's to be made separately per statute by the city of Manhattan and Riley County. You are 2 separate public entities. And the request is for you guys to have a joint interview process and overall process altogether, but that is not required.
That's what it's called. That's not what the statute calls.
Well, we could have input if they wanted to send questions they'd like to have asked, not necessarily that we would ask the question.
That's up to 2 or more of you to decide.
Well, typically advocacy groups or special interest groups, however you want to define them, typically have advocacy and special interests of their own in mind.
I understand that.
This here deals with operations, administrations, and basically the developmentation of a budget that's functional for a law enforcement agency. We can take those questions into consideration. I guess if one of us wanted to ask 1 or 2, so be it. But I don't think you have to make a whole charade about it. You know, you can keep it short and streamlined, but I do think upfront people do need to hear from the candidates. We need to hear from the candidates to make. I think proper choices. We haven't. Last time around, it was just kind of a couple of people here, and it was just boom, 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 boom. And you need to do better than that. I'm sorry, it's $25 million.
Well,
I think you're right. On one hand, you're saying you might discourage them, but if they're not willing to say what they feel in public, then I'm not sure I want them on the board.
Correct.
So I would say that, get these ahead of time and then we can discuss it and come up, depending on how many we get, how many we want to bring in for an interview.
I think we're clear on that. You clear on that, Cindy? The thing that I am not clear on, are we going to ask the public to submit questions for you guys to consider as well? That's the other thing that's been brought up that we need to decide.
I'm leaning no on that.
I don't. I mean, and people that said that people could be sending us.
And you can have outside questions.
yeah, they could call,
Sure.
email us directly, but.
Whether we ask for them or not, we're probably going to get some.
Well, yeah, and this was an open process. that
Yeah,
was
correct.
developed this budget.
Right.
Because we had a
These are questions the board developed. You all gave us a list of suggestions and we presented all the suggestions to all of you to
Whittle them down.
It's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah.
By 2 years.
I forgot about it. I can't remember when he said the question.
Yeah, I
Seeing
think,
him now, I remember.
Yeah.
I think we talked about these very early in, was it January or February?
Sorry,
last year?
Year and a half ago.
Yeah, I'm okay with putting this as part of the application process for that and keep it at maybe 3 or 4 people that we go through and then discuss it openly, whether in a meeting or a separate meeting or however we need to do that.
Yeah, that's not part of the agenda as an open meeting.
Right.
Have to be. So we're at a consensus that we are not going to ask the public to submit questions to be presented to them as well. Of course, you guys may get questions individually, but we're not gonna make that part of our formal process.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Want to be sure we're clear. Anything else on this subject, commissioners?
Doesn't sound like it until December.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
Oh, I think there's a question. Other items in this thing that you had that Rich sent to us regarding the Manhattan Arts Center
Yeah,
public meeting. Do we want one person to go or can more than one of us go? Do you?
I think it's like any public event,
It's
you know.
just an announcement. It isn't, we have to designate.
It's just
somebody.
kind of like that groundbreaking kind of thing is how I look at it.
no, I got
They've
the
got a bunch of
indication
different ones.
they wanted Riley County, in particular commissioners input on their thoughts and opinions and usage and some other things with the art center itself.
Because they've got 3 different ones with different groups.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is the one.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
different.
government.
Yeah, right.
That probably needs to be presented here in an open meeting. Would be my suggestion. If not, then it's a special meeting that you have to attend and I have to attend and.
Right. I can't make it on that date anyway, so I tried.
Yeah, if we all went.
Yeah.
If we designate
could.
one.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one could go and come back.
Send this email.
Just this morning. Just this morning.
And the gentleman who sent that email sent me an email back and said he was gonna reach out to each one of you two.
Oh,
It's definitely on that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I told him-
haven't gotten something.
I told him I'd make sure it got sent along, even though I couldn't send it to you, but you might think about reaching out to them individually and having an individual conversation on the subject. So
I didn't. I haven't gotten anything on my email since yesterday.
How do you manage that?
Because I don't think that's probably right.
Yeah, it was like yesterday afternoon, and that's maybe why my
I've got-
comments didn't.
That's
come
why I think you
Yeah.
got a problem looking into your computer.
Oh, one.
I got 7 already this morning.
So I haven't got any, and this is all, it's supposed to be all.
If you've got some setting that allows that, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one that said in here all, okay, here's one that says unread. Groundbreaking. That was Friday. Okay, I need to find out what's the problem.
What it is, it's the Manhattan Arts Center that has appointed or hired Macmillan Architects to, what is this? By the board of the Arts Center, work on a master plan for the Arts Center. They're having different groups meet to discuss things. That's September 21st.
Is it like,
The library, at the public library.
what times of day is it?
Then
on Wednesday.
I don't have anything that day at noon, so I could read it from those.
That's fine with me. I'm working at that point in time, and I've already developed that 2-week schedule for me, and I'm at a point where I'm trying hard not to just
jump around.
if it's something early in the morning or later in the afternoon, but when it's dead center of the mid-afternoon, it's not working for me.
And that's
So,
why I'd be interested, but I've got the juvenile detention meeting is in Council Road that day. So
What's the name of that organization?
If you want
What was the name of
Yeah.
that? What was the name of that again?
Manhattan Arts Center.
to.
We can't remember what.
Center.
I thought it had a longer name than
I
that.
thought it was the North Central Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Center.
You win.
How's that?
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera. Yeah. Dot, dot, dot.
But this one, maybe when I get this fixed, I can read what it is and where it is and all that stuff.
No, that's perfectly fine. I couldn't, and I said, I understood what they were trying to do and why, but I wasn't gonna be able to do it, so.
They're trying to.
That's why I sent it to Rich, so you guys.
Master plan, wanting to know what everybody's thoughts are on this.
Is it at the Arts Center?
At the
Library.
Oh,
National
library.
Library. At their auditorium. But you said Gary was gonna send this.
Yeah.
Send these out.
Yeah, he sent me an email this morning saying
Oh,
he was gonna talk to you at
Go
7.
there eventually.
And I gave him your guys' email address, so he should have that. So,
Which I get nothing. I haven't gotten it yet, so.
but you may not have sent anything, but in
Yeah.
terms of what you have or haven't gotten outside of that, I can't help you with
Yeah,
that.
I didn't get him, I just got one from Rich.
Okay, well,
It was sent.
I'll need to talk to you.
Take a look at it.
Any other business? Commissioners?
Did you indicate
Formal business?
you're not gonna be here with us on Thursday?
Have the second twin is getting married on Saturday, so my wife has a long list
I'm sure.
at the end of this week for me to get accomplished before Saturday, so.
We'll count a few more gray hairs on Monday.
Oh, well, I don't hide them, so yeah, you can count them, go ahead.
And then you're not with us.
Actually, it's less because someone else's expense. at that point.
The way it should be. That's tradition.
Well, remind you, say you got another one off the payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah, now that I think about it, you're not with us the end of next week, right?
Correct.
So Friday, we're all supposed to be going to Marysville for the Northeast Kansas officials luncheon.
That's always Friday.
Yeah, with
Both of us
geography
are
and
out.
fun of it. So I take, and we're all gonna have to probably drive separately then.
Well, I had already said I was gonna drive 7, because for me to come in here would be another, I'd have to drive a half hour here and then drive a half hour back.
I just wanted to clarify.
I
that.
thought of that, there may be other department heads, elected officials going. If there's an interest in carpooling, I can have Cindy check, to see if others are going, to see if anyone wants to carpool with anyone. I understand you're leaving.
Yeah.
You're at.
Yeah, go ahead and do that, just so I can start finalizing some plans for that Friday.
And if you end up, say 2 or more with other county officials or something, the key is you just can't talk about county business.
Right.
I mean, it seems like a minor point, but
Yeah.
In that particular case, yeah, considering, but
Yeah, I registered for it. So.
yeah.
Those are always good events. I like going out.
Yeah.
Don't like missing it. They're
I like
always
going to the
good.
small cities.
We always meet with the Secretary of State's office, always has a representative there, and so we get some business.
Of course, I'm
accomplished there.
friends with one of the Marshall County Commissioners. She's pretty solid.
And I always have donuts and coffee in the morning, a nice presenter, and then a nice lunch, and then it adjourns after that. I've always enjoyed the meetings.
Let's see, next week's spring hunting. And the week after that.
no, next week on, we take off, I think, the same day.
Oh, yeah, remember where we get free reign.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be fun. I got plans. So don't gamble too much, you get stuck in Vegas. Let's just put it that way.
They'll tell the state to turn in, don't let the state tune in our meetings. That's what we got.
There you go. Well, I don't gamble at all. I'm just in finance. I just watch.
Those are usually the people who gamble. And remember, sports betting's legal in Kansas now, so just throwing that out there.
Judging by the ads, I believe it is.
Yeah, no doubt.
kidding.
On
Targeted ads.
everything, yeah.
I
even got a text.
Yes.
A text.
Yeah, no doubt.
With the link saying,
I think I
here,
could
sign up
retire.
here.
You know, after
Who needs
That's
Vegas
the time you
anymore?
put money on it, then.
two, it's time to go. Okay. I'm good.
I want to bet that Nebraska probably doesn't have a good season from here on out. I think my odds.
Could get it started.
Oh, okay.
Get a nice habit
Shot
going.
across the bow.
All I do is try to help.
Elizabeth isn't on, so that's good.
Oh, I thought she was. That was supposed to be a twofer. I'll have to go over there and
Kevin's used to it. He showed up in our office last week with a Nebraska t-shirt and got abused
It gets abused.
Oh, Jill, I'm sure. Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Like I say, I noticed Melissa came in here.
And then
just
left
for a
real
second.
quick.
She
Yeah, I noticed that
stick
too.
around this.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the other thing on my,
I had thought of the same thing. I'm glad you brought it up.
and of course, I'm doing In Focus tomorrow instead of Catherine. She's gonna fill in for me.
Good deal.
So,
No.
okay. So
What is it worth on that North Central Kansas?
if you hear it deeper than usual, boy, she's
It's
not
not
sick.
me.
We'll have all
Then
the,
again, I might be too. Who knows?
we'll have all the hecklers call tomorrow.
I
Say
have,
what?
That's a
We'll have
good
all the
one.
hecklers call tomorrow.
Okay, yeah,
I have told Craig he's welcome to go if he wants to that.
Okay.
Now if he plans to go or not.
okay, sounds good.
Sounds good. Any other business, commissioners?
So do we need to do scores?
Have the unofficial if the board will entertain early scores since
And you know, Thursday.
usually do it Thursday, correct?
And Cindy will be here.
She will.
She can take the scores on Thursday.
Sounds
She's
good.
done it before.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll write mine down.
Okay.
I
I'll
know
make a
John
note.
will give me.
It's, I don't know why you, it's just been a wildly wrong guess.
I was just gonna go 0-0 Kai.
I know who the culprit would be. Sounds good.
Okay, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Noon and second to adjourn the meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone know